celebration of the millennium. This is ABC 2000. With Peter Jennings at ABC 2000 headquarters in Times Square, Barbara Walters in Paris, Diane Sawyer in New York, Charles Gibson in London, Cokie Roberts in Rome, Elizabeth Vargas in Sydney, Connie Chung in Las Vegas, Deborah Roberts in Orlando, Jack Ford in Times Square, Carol Simpson in Chicago, and Sam Donaldson at the Y2K Command Center in Washington. With our correspondents spanning the globe in Shanghai, Bombay, Bethlehem, Moscow, Havana, Rio de Janeiro, and across the U.S., reports from Miami, New Orleans, Tucson, Los Angeles, San Francisco. And in New York, Dick Clark counting down to the new year in Times Square. Special Millennium performances by Billy Joel, Elton John, Enrique Iglesias, Faith Hill, NSYNC, Fish, The Bee Gees, Aerosmith, Blondie, Bonnie Raitt, Neil Diamond, Harry Connick Jr., Kenny G, Ray Charles, The Eagles, Barry Manilow, David Blaine, and Barbra Streisand. Now, from ABC 2000 headquarters at Times Square in New York, Peter Jennings.
Good morning and welcome to the very edge of the 21st century. Good morning, you hearty souls, I should say. It's a little before 5 a.m. here in Times Square. Earlier you are. We begin, as you can imagine, with a tremendous sense of awe from our studio overlooking Times Square here. Awe at what is behind us as well as what is ahead of us. So for the next 24 hours, we're going to try to share this extraordinary occasion with much of the rest of the world. And we're going to begin this morning in just a second by going to Tonga and to Kiribati out in the Pacific, where the first midnight of the 21st century has actually come to be in just seconds. But we're going to start with some news, because just a short while ago in Russia, Boris Yeltsin, the president, said he had decided he was going to resign earlier than he had intended. So we're going to go straight to Moscow as our first port of call, and ABC's Morton Dean. Morton, what's been going on?
Well, a lot has been going on, Peter. Boris Yeltsin stole the headline right out of the old and new millennium. In a surprise this morning in a taped address to the country, he said he had signed papers transferring power to his chosen successor, Vladimir Putin, the prime minister. And Mr. Yeltsin is stepping down. Putin will become acting president for 3 months, and then national elections have been scheduled by Mr. Yeltsin and his chosen successor for March the 26th. Quite a story.
Was there any details about him? Did he look unusual? Did it look like it had been planned? Did it look spontaneous?
Well, it obviously had been planned for a while, but the news did not leak out here or obviously anywhere else. Putin is not widely known in this country nor around the world. Of course, he was a member of the KGB for many years and was head of the KGB's principal successor agency, the FSB, for a while. And he's only been prime minister for 4.5 months, and we're told that both Yeltsin and Putin are behind me in one of the buildings there in the Kremlin, meeting even as we speak, Peter.
And let me just see if I can get it absolutely straight. This is a resignation, or this is him saying he intends to resign earlier than he'd planned?
Well, he says he's out of power as of today. It's a resignation.
Okay, thanks very much, Mort. We'll come back to you as the day goes on. Of course, Russian law actually requires presidential elections within 90 days of a resignation, so that country's going to be on the edge of turmoil for some considerable period of time, further on the edge of turmoil. We have on the phone with us Michael McFall from the Carnegie Endowment of International Peace, who watches Russia very closely. Professor McFall, what do you think of what you hear this morning?
Well, it's stunning, of course. Very true to form for Boris Yeltsin, of course, to steal the headlines on the millennium. I think it's not surprising, though, if you think about the politics behind it. His prime minister, Mr. Putin, right now has a 70% approval rating. 55% of the population have said they'd vote for him on a first round. And Yeltsin calculated it's better to go for it now than to wait 6 months when those ratings might fall.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll talk to you, I hope, a little later throughout the day. Michael McFall from the Carnegie Endowment. Just a couple of other headlines before we get right down to Millennium News. India says it has reached an agreement to bring that hijacking in southern Afghanistan to an end. That jetliner is still on the ground at Kandahar, but the hijackers have reportedly agreed to release their 155, 156 hostages in exchange for 3 Muslim militants who are in Indian custody. So everybody's holding their breath on the subcontinent this morning, and we'll be at India later in the day, where they too will celebrate the millennium. But let us now go and have a look at Kiribati in the Pacific, the closest island this morning to the international date line, the first celebration out there on the beaches of this island with so much deep commitment in American history. Let's listen. It says Kiribati on your screen, but it's actually pronounced Kiribati. These are actually the Gilbert Islands in the Pacific, well known to many Americans who fought there during World War II, the capital, Tarawa, where more than 1,000 Americans were killed and 2,200 wounded as American forces made their way across the Pacific towards the Japanese home islands. Kiribati, as you can see, moved the international date line about a year ago to include all of the islands in the island nation. But something they must clearly have had in mind was the millennium, because they call the small island on which this ceremony this morning is taking place Millennium Island. It's hard to emphasize how hard the people in these Pacific Islands have worked, aware as they were that they were going to be the first to pass into the 21st century, first the first midnight and ultimately the first dawn. And as I said, this is a place with a tremendous place in American history. In 1943, the Japanese never believed that 1 million men could take this tiny collection of atolls, about 2/3 of the way across the Pacific. And the battle went on for 4 days, and as we said, more than 1,000 Americans were killed and 2,200 were wounded. Japanese had 5,000 men on the island, and when the battle was over, only 17 had survived. Today, they look at the new century in a moment of peace. And on your left, you see Tonga, 2/3 of the way from Hawaii to New Zealand. They, too, are in this first zone. This is sometimes regarded as the most Christian nation in the world. So the Alleluia chorus will sound familiar. That's the king you see there conducting the ceremony, King Tau'ufahautupou, who's been king since 1965. And those fireworks are in Sydney Harbour, Australia, beneath the Sydney Harbour Bridge, as Australia gets ready to celebrate the new millennium. ABC's Elizabeth Vargas is there for us, not very far from the famous Sydney Opera. You can see the sails of its outline there on one side of Sydney Harbour. Elizabeth, a lot of people?
Oh, Peter, there's a huge crowd here. Good morning from the oldest continent on Earth, and the first major landmass along with New Zealand to welcome in the second millennium. We have our lights out now because the first celebration, the first fireworks, as you can see, are being launched 3 hours before midnight here in Sydney Harbour. And as you said, we are alongside the Opera House, the most famous landmark in Australia, with well over 1 million people gathered here along the harbour to watch the show.
Okay, we'll be back to you. As you said, it's several hours before it's going to be midnight. Let's go back to Kiribati. Now they are dancing in the 21st century in Kiribati. The first midnight has come, and the first midnight has gone. Kiribati and Tonga, the first two people to celebrate their entry to the 21st century. And as you saw down there at the corner, an island that is somewhat threatened, because if global warming gets any worse, this is one of the islands in the world that will disappear beneath the sea. The people paddled out to this island from their capital, and now they go to the ocean to salute the future and pay respect to the Polynesian gods. Perhaps a quick look at what's happening on Tonga as well. We are part of an enormous consortium put together by the thinnest of electronic reeds at times, so Tonga has gone away briefly. But before the end of the day, as we watch this old man and a young boy paddle fire to the gods of the sea in an outrigger canoe, which you see all over the Pacific, part of the Polynesian people who explored all over the Pacific thousands of years ago. As they carry this tribute to the sea, we prepare to go around the world electronically, from Kiribati to New Zealand, Australia, and then China to Hong Kong, and then across to Europe and out to the subcontinent, where we believe that hijacking will be resolved today. And then back to Moscow, where they've got a major news story on their hands as well. And before the day is over, all across the length and breadth of the United States to celebrate the 21st millennium. And we'll check from the very outset here in just a couple of minutes to see how things are going with Y2K. Sam Donaldson is standing by in Washington, and Jimmy Walker is out there in New Zealand. So when we come back, we'll get going again. Hope you'll stay with us.
This is ABC 2000, the celebration of the millennium. Brought to you by Nicoderm CQ, the power to calm, the power to comfort, the power to help you quit. And by AccuView contact lenses, vision for the new millennium.
Sooner or later, you're going to quit smoking. So consider this. A quit date this good won't come along for another 1,000 years. Don't waste it. Quit with Nicoderm CQ. CQ's got the 3 gradual steps, and hundreds of thousands of smokers have already quit with it. Wasn't one millennium smoking enough? Start the next one with Nicoderm CQ. The power to calm, the power to comfort, the power to help you quit.
Time is running out on the year's biggest blockbuster, Toyotathon 2000. Don't miss edge of your seat action and red-hot values on the year 2000 Toyotas. Now, it's all about time. Miss it, and you'll get left behind. Toyotathon 2000. And soon at your Toyota dealer.
This is my invention. The silverware instrument. C'est les lunettes éclairantes. You could slide them, but they don't slide by themselves. It worked. It worked. Headlight. It could change somebody's life. 24-hour sentence. That is the greatest idea I've ever came up in my whole life.
ABC is the place to be for all the tradition and pageantry of college football on New Year's Day. At 1 Eastern, Florida takes on Michigan State, powerhouse.com Citrus Bowl. At 4:30 Eastern.
Open up the history books. Here comes Ron Dane.
Heisman winner Ron Dane leads Wisconsin against Stanford in the Rose Bowl, presented by AT&T. 8:30 Eastern, Alabama, Michigan in the FedEx Orange Bowl.
Fumble! Michigan got it, I believe.
It all kicks off at 11 a.m. with the Tournament of Roses parade.
Down, 0 deposit, 0 first payment. Today through New Year's Eve only. 2000 Cavalier leases 0, 0, 0. Then just $159 a month. 2000 Tracker 4-door 4x4 0, 0, 0. Then just $174 a month. 2000 Blazer 4-door 4x4 0, 0, 0. Then just $249 a month. Today through New Year's Eve at Century 3 Chevrolet.
Century 3 Chevrolet, Lebanon Church Road, Pittsburgh.
Minutes from the mall.
For 20 hours this holiday weekend, Colonial Gallery will sell furniture of heirloom quality at prices that defy comparison. The Millennium Celebration will begin Saturday at noon with incredible savings of 1/2 on room settings by Pennsylvania House, Hardin, Hickory Chair, Action Lane on all 4 Colonial Gallery store levels. It continues with no payments for a full year or sales tax paid for cash, and it ends when the doors close on Monday night at 9. Colonial Gallery, Route 51 South, Baldwin, Whitehall.
ABC 2000, live from around the world, once again from Times Square, Peter Jennings.
Well, Times Square looks a little bit like the celebration has already begun. In fact, we were out there pretty early this morning, and some people have actually come to Times Square in the rain and set up seats for a celebration that will not start for almost 16 or 17 hours from now. We shall be here, but we shall be drier, though the weather forecast for the eastern United States says rain until noon and then clearing up. But it is raining in Paris, and we'll get to Paris and Barbara Walters in just a moment, and it is very cold in the Vatican. There's St. Peter's Basilica. We'll be there in a short while to talk to Cokie Roberts, and before long, that place will be absolutely mobbed by people from all over the world. And there, which is a little bit less recognizable to many people, is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Manger Square in Bethlehem, where it is a beautiful day today, and we shall be there before long, too. There's some word from Bethlehem that a lot of the talk about terrorism has kept crowds down around the world. But we'll know a little later on in the day as to whether or not people have been, or crowds have been subdued, particularly at Vatican and at Bethlehem. Let's go back to the Pacific now, because though we're waiting to celebrate in the Chatham Islands just south of New Zealand, I think Kiribati is still going, as an old man and a young boy take their gift of fire out to the sea. The celebration moves to New Zealand, to the Chatham Islands, just to the southeast of New Zealand, about 800 miles from the mainland. These are two islands, Chatham and Pitt, right down there in the lower corner of your screen, in which not a great deal happens except farming. New Zealand famous for its sheep, among other things, though a lot closer to the rest of the world now in the internet revolution. But the first inhabitants here on Chatham Island were, as we saw on Kiribati and in Tonga, were Polynesians searching around the Pacific to make their home on a variety of these quite lovely but not profoundly productive islands. ABC's James Walker is in Wellington, New Zealand, and New Zealand, I guess you'd have to say today, is the canary in the coal mine, actually as one Australian or New Zealand paper put it, because it is there where the world is going to watch first for the Y2K developments. Jim, are you there this morning, James?
Peter, you took the words right out of my mouth. It is indeed the canary in the mine shaft, the first industrialized country in about 48, 50 minutes to welcome the new year, and then we will see whether or not it also welcomes the millennium bug. Let me just set the stage for a second. Behind me is the Beehive, part of the Parliament buildings right here in Wellington. It is the home of the Prime Minister and other members of her government. On the first floor is the Y2K Government Commission. In the basement is Emergency Management, which has ties to 300 utilities, hospitals, police stations, and we'll be monitoring them throughout the night. The Y2K Government Commission will be giving us briefings. The government officials here are very confident. They say that the key sectors they believe will work: water, utilities, telephones. But when it comes to Y2K, there are no guarantees. As you know, Peter, information technology statistics indicate that 14% of all computer code that has been fixed still has the Y2K bug in it. So there are no bets. We won't really know until we get there.
Okay, James, we'll come back to you very shortly, too, because, as you said, it's the canary in the mine. It's a guinea pig for many American companies, particularly who do business in New Zealand and throughout the Pacific. But while we're waiting for the Chatham Islands to enable us to share in their ceremony, I want to just walk around Europe very quickly. Cokie Roberts is in Vatican City, and looking a little less cold, Cokie, than you did a little while ago, but it is cold in Rome today.
Well, it's very cold in Rome, and a lot of these pilgrims who are here from all over the world are a little surprised at that. But they are here from all over the world, Peter, and behind me now, it's 11 o'clock in the morning here, and behind me there are hundreds of people lining up to get in through the Holy Door at St. Peter's. The millennium really began here on December 24th when the Pope started the Jubilee year, the Great Jubilee. They happen every 25 years, but he's deemed this one great because it is the 2000 year. And he opened the Holy Door, midnight mass on Christmas Eve, and people have been lining up to go through it ever since. And they're already here by the hundreds this morning.
Thanks, Cokie. We'll make contact later. We have made contact with the Chatham Islands, so let's listen to their celebration. They're about a minute from midnight.
The beacon of hope shines brightly in the minds of the children of the new millennium. The spotlight shines directly into the eyes of world leaders. The words are not appropriate at this time. It is the actions of man today, whereby the children of all nations can truly receive the dividends in their time from peace and harmony, brotherhood of man and environmental care.
You see a modesty in this ceremony that you'll see in lots of places throughout the world today. Well, they've had their first midnight in the Chatham Islands. Not many people live there, but they share the sentiment, surely, of people all over the world that the 21st century is going to be good for those young children. 39 time zones there are in the world. We've now been through 2 of them. One happened to be on the quarter hour, but to the local people there, it's midnight, and that's what matters. And our millennium coverage will continue.
Introducing the new AccuView 2 contact lens. So natural, it feels like you're wearing nothing at all. For a free trial pair, call us or visit your eye care professional.
Announcing a new way to see, near and far. AccuView bifocal contact lens with pupil intelligent design. Call 1-800-531-2121 for a free trial pair or visit your eye care professional.
We need a car?
A minivan.
No.
An SUV.
With leather.
Blue.
Green.
Bluish green.
Introducing Autotrader.com. Over 1 million used cars updated daily, make it the biggest, best used car site on the planet.
Now we need insurance.
And a loan.
Autotrader.com. Your car is waiting.
What color are your teeth? Introducing Arm & Hammer Advanced White Toothpaste. It'll safely whiten your teeth with just 1 tube. Prove it to yourself with our exclusive whitening guide on every package. You can go from here to here. Great tasting Arm & Hammer makes the difference. We guarantee it. So what color are your teeth? Arm & Hammer Advanced White Toothpaste. Whiter teeth, 1 tube, guaranteed.
Oh, Mom, it's great. My first apartment. You should see it. It's huge.
When you've got things to talk about, it's a good idea to dial 10-10-321 first.
And I got a great view of the river.
With 10-10-321, you get 50% off calls over 10 minutes. That's just 8 cents a minute, day or night, and no monthly fees. And at 50% off, you can share every last detail.
And I even have a garden.
Talk as long as you want with 10-10-321.
Monday on 2020, an emotional tug of war. Adopted children searching for their birth mothers. Birth mothers who don't want to be found.
I was also just absolutely terrified.
Can you understand why your birth mother does not want to have contact with you now?
A gripping 2020, Monday.
You want power? This is real power. 300,000 watts of advanced technology. More powerful than KDKA and WPXI's radars combined. Live pinpoint Doppler 4 radar with Snow Watch 4. The power to warn you how much snow...
Do that just for a little while now by going first to Paris and saying good morning to Barbara Walters. Good morning, Barbara.
Good morning, bonne année, Happy New Year to you, Peter. I am right across, as you can see, from the Eiffel Tower, where for the past, 1,000 days, they have been counting down the days. Now they are counting down the hours. You see the J is for jour, 13 hours until midnight, avant l'an before the year 2000. And at midnight, you are going to see the most spectacular view of the Eiffel Tower. 20,000 lights are going to light it up. Fireworks that are going to climb 1,000 feet in the air, swirling and dancing and twirling. They say there's never been fireworks like this before. On the Champs-Élysées, which is the main boulevard here in Paris, there are 11 different Ferris wheels that are also going to be whirling and twirling with acrobats and dancers, and you can see some of them now. They will only be here for 1 day. They start at midnight, and then it all ends. The Paris that we know has always been a city of light, but Peter, it will never be as bright and as glittery as it will be tonight. It's raining now. It's been cold and raining every day. People are already lined up here at the Eiffel Tower. And after days of storms, there's a feeling of excitement and the fact that it's really going to be a glorious night. 6 o'clock Eastern Time, 3 o'clock Pacific Time, midnight here, and we're 13 hours away.
Well, I'm bound to say, Barbara, I'll say it now, that you look absolutely gorgeous, but the weather behind you looks horrible. And you've had terrible storms in France, particularly in the last several days, with a lot of people killed.
There have been more than 80 people killed. The storm started on Sunday. As you walk down the streets, if you go down Avenue Foch, for example, which is the a residential area, it looks as if a hurricane has hit with trees all over the street. The Notre Dame has been damaged. Windows were blown out, even parts of the structure. We went to Versailles, where the gardens are now closed. You can see the way it looks with some of the trees down. Versailles itself was damaged, but not inside. The park lost some of its oldest trees. 10,000 trees were destroyed, Peter, some of them 300 to 400 years old. So it's been very, very bad weather, and today is certainly not sunny and glorious, but there are no storms. And France is in a pretty cheerful mood. It's been a good year for France, so they will be celebrating tonight.
Good, Barbara. Look forward to seeing you before long. Thanks very much. Barbara Walters outside the Eiffel Tower. Let's take a look out here at Times Square at the moment. It's raining here too, but even now it has begun to let up just a little. And as I said, people have already come to the square this morning and have set up seats. The police have transformed this. There's going to be no interference as far as they're concerned with any celebrations here, but they've transformed it into a whole series of little islands. And we'll explain it to you as the day goes on, because New York has already planned quite a celebration of its own. But still ahead for us is the Y2K.
You want power? This is real power. 300,000 watts of advanced technology. More powerful than KDKA and WPXI's radars combined. Live pinpoint Doppler 4 radar with Snow Watch 4. The power to warn you how much snow you're going to get before it ever hits the ground. This winter, trust the team. Trust the power of live pinpoint Doppler 4 radar with Snow Watch 4. Only on Action News.
Okay, dear, I'll be talking to you.
Wheeling down. Spend a little time. You could win a lot of money. Kaufman's 24-hour sale is today and tomorrow. Save an extra 30 to 40% on winter fashion clearance. Early bird specials Saturday at 9 a.m. plus all-day home doorbusters. Celebrate the new millennium at Kaufman's with 24 hours of store-wide savings this weekend. Shop New Year's Day 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Sunday 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. This is where it all starts. This is where it gets good. The 24-hour sale only at Kaufman's.
Once, I was a singer. Today, that singer is hidden somewhere deep inside. But there's still a song in my heart. And every time I go to a gallery, an opera, or a concert, that singer sings again.
The islands bring life to life. Are we going someplace new?
The future represents a golden opportunity for us, our customers, and our region. We're headed in the right direction. We're the Port Authority. And together with you, we're moving forward.
Can we come with you?
Come to Quality Furniture Company and the Thomasville Home Furnishing Store for the New Year's Spectacular Sale. Ring in the millennium with 40 to 70% savings store-wide. Plus, get 1 year free financing. Save 50% on beautiful furniture like the Crescent Solitary Bedroom or this Thomasville Renaissance Bedroom. Plus, this 4-piece Lake House Oak Bedroom is only $16.99. Start the new year right with
Quality Furniture, beauty of a lifetime.
Well, good morning, Pittsburgh. It is 5:25. I'm Wendy Bell. Your local headlines coming up in just a moment. But first, let's check your New Year's Eve forecast with meteorologist Mike Stone. Mike.
Thanks, Wendy. Good morning to you and good morning, everyone. Temperatures outside this morning, again, are in the upper 20s and lower 30s. It's not too chilly outside right now. Let's get a quick check of those temperatures. 33 in the city, 28 in Youngstown, and 32 in Du Bois. Here's your day planner for today. Look for a lot of clouds this morning. Those will gradually break up, and we'll average out to be partly cloudy this afternoon, a high of 40. As we go into New Year's weekend, look at that. Low to mid-50s for the most part over the weekend with a chance of showers Sunday into early Monday, but New Year's Eve tonight should be pretty fair with temperatures in the 30s. And we've gotten a few questions over the last couple days. Melanie has had her baby. It was a boy yesterday, so all of our thoughts are with her. Wendy.
That's right, Mike. Thanks so much. So after all the anticipation, it is finally here, New Year's Eve kicking off the year 2000, a big day for both celebration and concerns in our area. Our Christina Arangio is out with a look at the early morning preparations. Christina, where are you?
I'm actually at Edgewood Town Center, Wendy, and it's pretty quiet at the moment, but we expect a lot of people will be heading this way later on. This is the last morning of 1999. Pretty incredible when you think about it that way. This is the turn of the century, and to be alive for that is exciting. But of course, as you mentioned, there are Y2K concerns. Everybody wondering if there are going to be any computer glitches as we move into the year 2000. Some people will no doubt be heading to the grocery store. Many people have already the past few days, the past few weeks. Some have stocked up a little bit. We understand others have gone to the banks as well, just to get some extra cash out, just in case something goes wrong. In the meantime, there are plenty of festivities planned, and things get underway later on tonight, or actually this afternoon, 3:30 p.m. at Station Square. There will be a tent open, free admission. College football will be on TV screens. Of course, there'll be good food. 4 p.m. Sputsy and the Soul Providers will perform, and you can see there on the full screen that there are a number of other bands performing, a time capsule, and of course the fireworks and the laser show, which is always spectacular. So there will be a lot going on, and we will have more for you later on. Wendy, back to you.
All right, Christina, thanks so much. Well, if you're headed to town for all the festivities today, you might experience a little pre-Y2K headache. Of course, we're talking about the parking situation downtown. To help ease all the pain, Ellen Gamble has a look at what you can expect. Take a look.
And if you're headed downtown for New Year's Eve festivities, keep in mind that the Golden Triangle is going to be a very busy place, and some of the restrictions and closures actually start for you this morning. We want to give you the reminders about where you'll find closures. The Clementi Bridge shuts down at 9 this morning. Liberty at Market will get a closure and a restriction at 3 this afternoon. The 7th Street Bridge closes at 11 tonight, and the Smithfield Street Bridge will close at around 10 till midnight. Some reminders about areas where you will not be able to park because of New Year's Eve festivities. After 11 this morning, keep in mind there are parking restrictions in the Market Square area. Forbes, 4th, 5th, 6th, Oliver, and William Penn have parking restrictions, as does Federal from Isabella to the Clementi Bridge. Pittsburgh Parking Authority says it has about 5,000 spaces available to you for parking for tonight's festivities at 9 of its area lots. Good news is, if you have those first night Pittsburgh buttons, you can park in those lots for just $1. I'm Ellen Gamble with your Traffic Watch 4 update.
And if Y2K isn't enough, telephone callers in Western PA are going to have to deal with a new area code. And with the new area code, callers are going to have to dial another number. That's right, a full 10 digits with every call. The new 878 code will be an overlay in the regions that currently use the 412 and the 724 codes. More local news will be coming your way in just 20 minutes. I'm Wendy Bell. Have a great morning.
Get your best deal of the year on every 2000 model now at Barrel.
Gotta get it.
Zero security deposit, zero first payment, zero down payment on any lease.
Gotta get it.
Save big now on over 1,500 cars and trucks. Keep your money for the holidays during Barrel's Zip Zero Silk Sales Event.
Gotta get it, gotta get it.
Only at the Barrel family of dealerships on Route 19, Wexford and Cranberry, where you're always treated like a star.
Gotta get it.
Gotta get it.
Gotta get it.
Now.
Ring in the new year with incredible values at Pittsburgh's Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries during our New Year celebration sale. We're open New Year's Day from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Get honest values on living room furniture, family room furniture, leather, and recliners, and pay nothing for one entire year. That's right, pay no money down, pay no interest, pay no money of any kind for one entire year. So take advantage of great savings at Pittsburgh's Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries, and let us sit on the bill until 2001. Open New Year's Day from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m.
ABC 2000, live from around the world. Once again from Times Square. In New York, Peter Jennings.
Well, there's a small example of how the world has changed. That's the Omar Mosque in Bethlehem, the place where the Gospels say that Jesus was born, and we'll go there in just a minute. I'm not sure that your local news actually dealt with it, but a couple of headlines here. Boris Yeltsin has resigned as president of Russia. That means, technically speaking, there should be an election in Russia within 90 days. And it looks very much like India and the hijackers of that Indian Airlines Airbus have reached an agreement, and that there's going to be an exchange of passengers for 3 either militants in favor of an independent Kashmir. We think that's what it is, and the passengers are going to be exchanged before the day is over. So we get a great shock at the beginning of the 21st century with Boris Yeltsin announcing that he's going to step down and make way for the man who's currently Prime Minister Putin, who has very much on edge and everybody else. And the good news which comes out of southern Afghanistan, that horrible siege for the people on that plane may, within hours, be over. We'll be going off to New Zealand and Washington in just a couple of minutes to get some of the first Y2K news, but we want to go way back in history now to Manger Square in Bethlehem, where ABC's Bill Blakemore is standing just outside that little door you can see down there at the bottom right-hand corner of your picture, which is actually how people get in to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre itself. And Bill Blakemore is there. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Peter. Actually, Church of the Nativity. Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, I'm sorry.
No problem. It's unusually hot here today, 77 degrees here in Manger Square. It's very often at this time of year cold and rainy, even snowy, but the very hot weather has produced what is just like a shirt sleeve day here, sunny weather. Very few Christian pilgrims so far this morning making their way in. We can't tell yet whether the security warnings have indeed kept them away. We'll find that out maybe this evening. The Friday noon prayers have just broken up here. The Mosque of Omar, of course, just across Manger Square from the Church of the Nativity behind me. The Church of the Nativity, as you know, of course, is built over the cave where tradition says that Jesus was born 2,000 years ago, making this, in a sense, ground zero for the year 2000. And we're just, by coincidence, halfway around the earth. It's just afternoon here. And so it will be this evening before we see any celebrations. But the interesting thing here today, Peter, is that by coincidence, it's a day of great importance for all 3 of the Abrahamic religions, the religions that stem back to Abraham. The Jews, of course, start their Sabbath this evening when the sun goes down. It's the last Friday of Ramadan for the Muslims, and many of the Muslims from throughout the West Bank today have gone into Jerusalem because for the first time, the Israelis have lifted the requirements that there be special permission during Ramadan to go in and pray there. And of course, the Christian millennium, moving into the 3rd millennium tonight, there's a certain sense of heightened tension here because of all of these different religious feelings of importance today, and the Israeli and Palestinian police are on heightened security.
Bill, let me just, before I ask you what the Palestinian Authority plans, Ramadan, of course, is a month of fasting for Muslims throughout the world. They fast from dawn until sundown and party sometimes quite extravagantly after dark at night. But the Palestinian Authority, which now controls Bethlehem, has what planned for later today?
Well, they're going to have a concert. They're going to have a number of singers and a film festival of Palestinian filmmakers this evening. As midnight approaches, there's going to be a special lighting of candles here in the square, and then the releasing of 2,000 doves, a symbol of peace. Most apt here, of course, because it is hoped by many here that the year 2000 will be a year of considerable peacemaking, since the Israelis are now talking with the Syrians starting on Monday about what is going to happen between those 2 countries, including possibly the disposition of the Golan Heights. And the Israelis are still talking with the Palestinians and say that they hope by September to have Palestinian-Israeli peace established as well. But there are mixed feelings on all sides here. Something has to be given up by everybody. So, as usual in the Middle East, and especially here at the crossroads of 3 continents with 3 religions mixing it up together on a day like this, there's a variety of feelings and expectations and hopes.
Thanks very much, Bill. We'll talk to you later in the day. One piece of news related to the Russian news in Moscow this morning. The Russians have just announced that the acting president, Vladimir Putin, is going to be going to Bethlehem and to Jerusalem next week, replacing Mr. Yeltsin. When I was talking to Bill Blakemore earlier on, he said that was one of the first things they had asked because Mr. Yeltsin had indeed planned to come. But with that news in Moscow today, Vladimir Putin gets a tremendous, tremendous boost. They've just had an election in Russia, and many of the parties in the Russian parliament, which were supported by the Kremlin or supported by the Kremlin, was something of a mean and nasty election. Much meaner and much nastier than we are accustomed to in the United States. But the pro-Kremlin parties and the pro-Yeltsin parties, the pro-Putin parties, the new Prime Minister, now very much likely to be the next president of Russia, have all done fairly well. Mr. Putin will be going to the Holy Land, and we will continue our Millennium coverage in just a minute.
Stay with ABC and the world as the new millennium arrives down under. Still ahead, Australia's pre-party direct from the Sydney Opera House handles Messiah from New Zealand. Plus, the latest on what's really happening with Y2K. And that's just this morning. ABC 2000, 24 incredible hours continues.
Hi. I need to pick up my car?
You are?
Yasmin, please.
Okay. Can you spell that, please?
B-L-E-E-T-H. You know, maybe I should just come back another time.
No.
Hey, Jeff. Now listen, I got it right here, buddy. It's icy cold and tasting great. Now come on, Jeff, you tell me, is there anybody in this world who deserves this here Pepsi more than you?
Hi, Jeff.
See you later, Jeff.
Now that's what I call motivation.
I don't know where she came from.
Don't worry, Jeff. There's always Daytona.
America's Broadcasting Company wishes you a Happy New Year.
There is nothing wrong with your television set. We are controlling transmission.
We hope you've enjoyed the journey and remind you that the best is yet to come. Welcome to television's new millennium, brought to you by your friends at ABC.
What's the strength of a dollar? Money is economic energy. When distributed, it has the power to fuel all manner of enterprise. Since 1855, Dollar Bank has invested billions of dollars in millions of lives and thousands of businesses in Western Pennsylvania, creating a currency of growth and opportunity. That's the strength of a dollar.
Friday and New Year's Day, play Register Roulette at Boscov's. Save 5 to 50% on almost everything you buy, plus double Register Roulette savings Friday afternoon and Saturday morning. Take 30 to 50% off all ladies' winter outerwear, plus Register Roulette savings. Arrow and Van Heusen dress shirts, 2 for $40. Cannon comforters, $9.99. Flannel sheet sets, $19.99. Double savings Friday afternoon and Saturday morning at Boscov's.
It was an era unto itself, a dynasty not seen before or since in Pittsburgh. Now available exclusively, a rare digitally remastered film series produced by George Romero that takes you into the hearts and minds of the Steel City's legendary football heroes. Harris, Blyer, Bradshaw, and the famed Steel Curtain. Recapture the Immaculate Reception. See and hear Terry Bradshaw as he evolves from cocky rookie to champion quarterback.
My ego isn't that big, I don't think. At least I hope it isn't.
Follow the road from tragedy to triumph. The Blyer comeback.
Rock, and all of a sudden I felt a thud in my leg.
Go behind the Steel Curtain, featuring personal interviews never seen before.
I love the hits, you know. We overpower people.
Bring home the decade of champions. Order now and relive the glory.
ABC 2000 continues live from around the world. Once again, Peter Jennings.
Well, it's 5:30 in the morning in New York City. It's 5:30 in the evening in Bangkok. It's 7:40 in the evening in Tokyo. In the Pacific, they're going to have their midnights before we are. A lot of people talking about buzz on this particular occasion. Where was the buzz? Well, as we came to work early this morning through Times Square, which New Yorkers are utterly convinced is the center of the universe, I was surprised how many people there were who were here who weren't working. But Jack Ford is working. Jackie's down there. Good morning, Jack. What are all these folks doing here?
Peter, good morning. The folks are starting to gather here, although in talking to some police officers just recently, they expressed some surprise over the fact that there weren't bigger crowds here yet. That probably is attributable to the fact that although the forecast was for cool and dry, we got the cool part right, but not the dry part right. It's been raining throughout the course of the morning here. It's starting to slow down now. You can see behind me that there are a significant police presence here. Crowds are starting to gather. The police haven't yet begun shepherding the crowds into the spectator areas, the so-called pens that they've set up here. They indicated again in a conversation that there's no real timetable for that. They'll just do it by feel when they look like the crowd's beginning to gather and it makes sense to get them into those areas. So the rain is keeping people away. Right now, the rain is starting to let up a little bit, and they're expecting, as you said before, perhaps as many as 2 million people out here. The dropping of the ball is some 18 hours away, but the crowds are starting to gather, Peter.
We will have a chance, by the way, on television this morning to see the ball go up in about an hour and a half from now. And Jack, if I'm not mistaken, having seen the weather forecast quite late last night, this is going to be a dry and cool day before we're finished.
Hopefully we'll get the dry part right soon, Peter. As I said, it's just starting to let up a little bit now. As you mentioned, the ball is going to be up there at about 7 o'clock or so Eastern time. We'll be chatting with some folks out here, also talking with the designer of the ball from Waterford Crystals. So the festivities will be getting started.
And very briefly, New York City has a whole panoply of events itself. When are they going to start, you know?
Peter, they're supposed to get started officially at 6:30 this morning, and there's an hourly event. It includes things such as street fair, theater, dancers, a great deal of events taking place throughout the course of the day.
Thanks very much. Jack on the street, nice to talk to you. Stay dry if you can. When we come back, the 21st century is about to begin in New Zealand. Right after local news in many cities, stay tuned with our Millennium coverage.
ABC 2000, live from around the world, will continue in a moment.
The king.
Should have used Energizer. They keep going and going and going and going. What color are your teeth? Introducing Arm & Hammer Advanced White Toothpaste. It'll safely whiten your teeth with just one tube. Prove it to yourself with our exclusive whitening guide on every package. You can go from here to here. Great tasting Arm & Hammer makes the difference. We guarantee it. So what color are your teeth? Arm & Hammer Advanced White Toothpaste. Whiter teeth, one tube, guaranteed.
The GMC Convoy 2000 is here. Trucks with capabilities that will change the way you look at the road. Professional-grade pickups, SUVs, and family vans, designed better than they need to be, like the 2000 GMC Sierra Extended Cab, with the most powerful standard V8 in its class.
Get up to $1,587 average finance savings with 3.9% APR on select 2000 Sierra models.
GMC. Do one thing, do it well.
Save up to $12 now on select Polaroid cameras and film. Save now before December 31st.
Final answer. You win $250. You're right, way to go. $25,000. The winner is... He's won $1 million.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire returns January.
Good morning, everyone. It is 5:50. I'm Wendy Bell. We're going to check your local headlines in just a moment, but let's get your pre-millennium forecast with Mike Stone. Mike.
Thanks a lot, Wendy. Good to have you here, and good to have you here with us. Thanks for watching us. We had some sprinkles last evening. Those are out of here and pretty much tranquil. For New Year's Eve tonight, generally just kind of partly cloudy. Temperatures will be in the 30s. And then for tomorrow, for the other celebrations, we'll be looking at temperatures falling from 50 down into the 40s. So for today, a high of 40. Morning clouds give way to some sunshine today. 52 for tomorrow, 54 on Sunday with some showers developing into early Monday with a high of 44 on Monday. And then we go back to some colder weather for Tuesday. Wendy.
All right, Mike, thanks so much. No, it is finally here. We've been talking about it for so long, anticipating New Year's Eve, kicking off the new millennium. It's a big day for both celebration and for some safety concerns in our area. Our Christina Arangio is now live in Edgewood with a look at the early morning preparations. Hey, at least it's a nice day out there.
That's right. It could be a lot colder out here, so I am counting my blessings, Wendy. This is an exciting time. We are closing out the century, but as you said, it's also a time for Y2K concerns. We've heard so much about possible computer glitches, and we expect there will be people heading to the Giant Eagle here at Edgewood Town Center later on. They're going to open at about 6 o'clock today. A lot of people have been stocking up on groceries just in case. So we thought we'd talk to Albert Giulinelli. You can come right in here, Albert, and tell me, what has it been like in the grocery store the past few days?
It's really been busy. I sell a lot of water and a lot of tuna. They're stocking up. I guess everybody's waiting for that Y2K. It's pretty busy over here, though.
Do you hear anything from people, or is it kind of a quiet thing? They just kind of stock up the carts but don't mention what they're doing it for?
No, they didn't really say nothing to us because I work at night, and everybody's gone when I come in, so.
Batteries, too, going?
Battery, yeah, everything.
Thanks so much, Albert. I appreciate your time. Nice talking to you.
Have a good New Year.
You too. Happy New Year. We expect it will be busy for Giant Eagle again today, and of course, we will have more for you later on. Wendy, back to you.
Christine, just make friends wherever you go.
I do my best.
There you go. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Well, folks, if you're headed to town for the festivities, you can imagine parking downtown probably is going to be a pain. Ellen Gamble has some information to help you out, some information to help you figure out what you can expect downtown. Take a look.
Going to be very busy downtown in Pittsburgh's Golden Triangle tonight as everyone welcomes in the new year. Of course, all of those festivities mean there will be some restrictions and some closures for you. We'd like to give you the reminders from the Traffic Watch 4 Center. A mini Merrymakers March begins at 6 tonight, forming near USX, and a rolling closure on the following roadways follows that particular parade: Grant, 6th, Wood, 5th, Market, and Liberty down to CNG Plaza. Keep in mind you will have restrictions around that area. Also some closures starting at 8 tonight in preparation for the fireworks to usher in the new year. Commonwealth at Liberty, Commonwealth at Fort Duquesne, the rear of Point State Park, and Point State Park's walkway to the stadium. The Port Authority will be helping you all to get downtown to enjoy these festivities. If you have questions about restrictions or rerouting, call Pat at 442-2000, or you can log on to their website at www.ridegold.com. They plan to have lots of extra service ready for tonight's festivities. They do say, however, the best way to get in and out of downtown is to use the T, especially if you're coming from the South Hills. I'm Ellen Gamble with your Traffic Watch 4 update.
And more local news is on tap in just 30 minutes. We'll see you then. This is Arts Pittsburgh, and I'm Michelle Wright. The Bach Choir has been entertaining audiences in Pittsburgh since 1934. During a recent rehearsal, artistic director Brady Aldred explained the Bach Choir performs music from all different periods and styles.
We presented concerts of Latin American music. We premiered new works that have been written for the choir. We have recorded new works. The holiday time, we do music with brass and organ, with harp.
The choir is comprised of 120 singers from ages 17 to 70.
Bach Choir is not only a group of disciplined musicians, but there's something very special about this group of people. There's a spiritual underpinning to the discipline and the gifts that we all have. And for me, that makes Bach Choir very special.
For more information on this performance and others, visit us on the web at artspittsburgh.com.
Live pinpoint Doppler 4 radar with snow watch.
ABC 2000. continues live from around the world. Once again from Times Square in New York, Peter Jennings.
Good morning, everybody, or good morning again. Welcome back to our live coverage of the century change. In a moment, we're going to go to New Zealand, where the first industrial country in the world will enter the 21st century. We'll get our first taste of what Y2K is doing, if anything, to the technological base there. But before that, we want to check in on London, where ABC's Charlie Gibson is standing by, and who's usually up at this time of day in this city. London seems to have had a few problems over there this morning or in the last couple of days about getting ready for its millennium coverage.
Well, there have been glitches, Peter, with some of the new things that have been built in London for the millennium. And, of course, the British are a querulous lot, and so they have been arguing about exactly what's going to be going on here. But, you know, I think, Peter, as this party that the world is throwing for itself on this dawn of the new century and the new millennium goes on, many cities will say, we have the biggest, or we have the grandest, or we have the gaudiest celebration. And London can certainly make its claim because its New Year's celebration will be over such a wide area. Peter, up and down 4 miles of the Thames, they're going to be celebrating with a giant fireworks show that I'll tell you about. But of course, this is also probably the most international city of the world. And so there is such great concern that perhaps a party crasher will commit some untoward act. And security is very tight. As you look around the city this morning, traffic has been shut down almost everywhere. Indeed, the City of London will be pretty much restricted to pedestrian traffic through this New Year's Eve. Now, when I mentioned the big celebration that will go on up and down the Thames, and you're seeing shots of the beautiful river that bisects the City of London, for a 4-mile stretch, Peter, at midnight, after the bells of Big Ben have struck midnight, the 12 gongs, at a height of 200 feet, they're going to blanket the Thames River for this 4-mile stretch with a series of rockets. It will be as if the river is on fire. And then they modestly say they're going to have 15 minutes of the largest fireworks show in the history of the world. As I say, the British are always very modest about that. But you did mention the glitches in the preparations here in London. Number one, they built at a cost of more than $1 billion. They built this Millennium Dome down in Greenwich. And nobody's quite sure why they built it. And then that's the Millennium Dome that you're seeing there. It's reviving the Greenwich area, of course, which is the center of time. But inside, it's a sort of show with lots of exhibits, and there's a stage. But Londoners really do scratch their head as to why it was worth spending $1 billion, over $1 billion, on this Millennium Dome. And then you got to peek at the London Eye. This, well, they don't like to call it a Ferris wheel because the modules are enclosed, but this is right on the south bank of the Thames, Peter, and I'm going to be interested to get your opinion of it.
Ferris wheel by any other name, Charlie.
Well, all right, we'll stick with Ferris wheel. Americans will relate to that. But, Peter, it's 50 feet higher than Big Ben. And the only thing I can really equate to it is in 1889, in Paris, of course, they built the Eiffel Tower, and people were so shocked in Paris by that. It was only supposed to be up for a few years. And of course, it stands still. This is only supposed to be up for 5 years here in London, but it is really a rather majestic thing. Now, of course, people are supposed to start riding in it tonight. Well, it doesn't work right, Peter. One of the modules doesn't rotate properly, and so they're not going to be able to open it for 3 weeks or so. But it is up here, and to some Londoners, it is an eyesore. To some, it is a thing of beauty. I will let you be the judge. This is your old city. You give me your verdict.
Well, I was going to say to you that I wonder how Mr. Ferris would feel, who designed the first wheel for the Chicago Exposition, because you have a fabulous one there, and they've got a whole collection of them up and down the Champs-Élysées in Paris, which we can see at the moment, too. I think there are 12 designed on the Champs-Élysées, and each one of them different. But this is George Ferris's wheel for the Chicago World Fair. And I must tell you, Charlie, as modern as yours looks, it does indeed look like George Ferris's wheel in some shape or form. And there's a glimpse of one of them in the distance in Paris as well this morning. Charlie, you said very briefly there that London would claim being the center of things, being such an interesting place, but also you want to take a quick whack at you claim it because you are the center of time.
Sure. Just east of here on the Thames River is Greenwich, which is at 0 degrees longitude, and it is the center of time. It is where the official measurement of time is taken for the world. Indeed, all of these midnight celebrations are really keyed to the official clocks, which are in Greenwich.
Okay. Well, it's great to talk to you, and we will talk to you a lot throughout the day. There's Big Ben. Clearly, I think surely the most famous clock in the world, and we'll be talking all about clocks and times, the importance of time and the relevance of time before the day is over. But let us now go out to New Zealand, because there in New Zealand they are about to be the first industrial country to become the center of time. Elizabeth Vargas is in the Pacific for us. Elizabeth, can you give us a handle first on what's happening in New Zealand?
Well, they've got a huge celebration planned in Auckland, Peter, with a record amount of fireworks that they're shooting up into the air. Auckland, of course, is known as the city of sails. There are more sailboats per capita, so they have a lot of people planning to be out on the water. As well, a lot of fireworks launched from barges. And in fact, from a small island off the coast of, just right off the coast of Auckland called Rangitoto, which interestingly enough, at the turn of the last millennium, wasn't even there. It was caused by a volcanic eruption 600 years ago. Barges attached to that island will be, of course, launching a lot of those fireworks. Auckland will be, of course, the first major industrialized landmass to celebrate New Year's. We will be celebrating shortly thereafter here at Sydney Harbour, and the party is well underway here as well. Celebrations beginning well before midnight with, again, record-breaking crowds in both New Zealand and Australia.
Thanks very much, Elizabeth. One of the people who's with us in New Zealand this morning, along with James Walker, is Suzy Aiken, who's a reporter for TVNZ, as they call it. We say Z, but TVNZ, Television New Zealand. Can you hear me, Suzy?
Yes, I can. Good morning, Peter.
How excited are you people there?
Well, in the last half hour, I've really felt the energy level and the ambience around me. The boat horns, as you can hear. We've got 68 super yachts in this purpose-built America's Cup harbour behind me. A concert going on. New Zealanders are out to party, and we are counting down the minutes. We've got 3 minutes to go, and it's hard not to get completely caught up. It's exciting to be the first major city to see this in.
Do you think that's a feeling that's held throughout New Zealand? It's not a very big place.
It's not a very big place, but we've got about 3.8 million people, but a very strong voice globally, we hope, and we're really looking forward to this new millennium. But the very positive accent for us is to aim to preserve the planet. So that's, I think, where our mission will be in the next years ahead.
Lovely to have you with us, Suzy. Let's listen to the official ceremony itself.
For a minute. If the last 2,000 years are worth anything, it's because we can learn from them. Just for a second, what legacy you will give to the future. Look around right now. Look at your loved ones. Look at the strangers. Go on, have a good look at those faces and think, what and how can I affect them in the future? What will my legacy be for them and for those yet to be born, for those yet to come? Okay, I'm getting it through now, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look at each other. Say goodbye and get ready to say hello.
We're at Auckland on the North Island of New Zealand, the biggest city there, just over 1 million people, as Suzy said.
It's coming up, ladies and
The
gentlemen.
largest Polynesian city in the world. Here it is.
Oh, it's building. Here it comes. I can feel it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm checking the watch.
Closest big city in the world to the international date line. Wildly popular with people who visit it. Indigenous people, the Maoris, they represent a small part of the population, but an enormous part of New Zealand's
50
historic
seconds to go, ladies and gentlemen. Here it is. It's official. 50 seconds. Let's have a look where we are. 30 seconds, ladies and gentlemen, and counting. Here we go. 25, 22, 21, 20, and 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, and 9, 8,
North Island of these two islands which the Polynesians settled on originally in the South Pacific. Biggest city in New Zealand, celebrating its future and its past. Talked to someone there yesterday who I hope we'll talk to before the day is over. In fact, might even try to get him on the phone now. Dennis Dutton, an American who told us yesterday that he had moved to New Zealand from California and he thought he was never going to be heard of again. And of course, the world in which we now live, the technological world, the internet world, has simply changed all that completely. And he now sits there connected to the rest of the world on his email. Suzy Aiken, if you had to describe New Zealanders' attitude towards the 21st century, what would it be?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please?
I said if you had to describe New Zealand attitudes towards the 21st century, what would they be?
Well, we're into clean and green. We love our country. We love our land. Our Māori, our Indigenous people, have a very strong link with the land. And I think our attitudes towards the next millennium is to really want to preserve it so that we can have it here for many generations to come. We're very strong in terms of our ban on whaling and our drift net fishing, or ban on drift net fishing in the Pacific. The ecological and environment is very important to us. So for all New Zealanders, that's our paramount mission in the next millennium ahead. The celebrations behind me are just going off. It's really very exciting and a wonderful feeling to be in the new millennium.
And has all the technology made you feel more part of the world, Suzy?
Definitely. The internet has brought us closer globally, and that's very important for New Zealand. We're a trading nation, we're a small island nation, and I think we're going to step up firmly into the global network and global economy, and that will continue to grow over the next 10 years. That's the area that New Zealand wants to move into, and the internet, of course, has made that possible for us.
So no more jokes about sheep in the 21st century.
Well, we do have a lot of sheep. There's 3.8 million New Zealanders. I think there's something like 60 million sheep. But hey, we eat a lot of lamb and we export a lot of it too. In fact, we export a lot to the States. So
Yes,
there you go.
I know you're right. It's our first trade dispute of the 21st century between the United States and New Zealand on land, but we'll forget it for tonight.
We will indeed, yes. That's between the countries, and our relationship between American citizens and New Zealand has always been a very friendly one, so it's great to be talking to you tonight.
Suzy, enjoy the fireworks. Happy New Year.
Thank you. I might have 2 bubbles now.
I should hope so. Very New Zealand. The 21st century in New Zealand. Our coverage of the millennium continues 12:04 in Auckland, New Zealand.
This is ABC 2000, the celebration of the millennium. Brought to you by Autotrader.com, the biggest, best used car site on the planet. And by Polaroid. See what develops.
We need a car?
A minivan.
No.
An SUV.
With leather.
Blue.
Green.
Bluish green.
Introducing Autotrader.com. Over 1 million used cars updated daily, make it the biggest, best used car site on the planet.
Now we need insurance.
And a loan.
Autotrader.com. Your car is waiting.
Your New Year's kiss. Save up to $12 now on select Polaroid cameras and film. Save now before December 31st.
I need love to ease my mind. I need to find someone to call mine. My mama said you can't hurry love.
Now there's a whole new way to snack and kick back. Introducing single-serving Tostitos snack kits.
Just be sure you pick the right time to eat them. Dig in, kick back. Tostitos.
Arizona Angels coming to bat in the first.
He talked the talk.
I'm the greatest, I'm the prettiest, I'm the fastest.
He walked the walk.
You was something else.
But when his dreams
You're heavyweight champion of the world.
collided with his cause,
My religion means more to me than some fight.
he divided a nation.
This is my destiny.
And changed the world.
You ready? I told you I was coming.
Now the story of how he became the greatest athlete of our time.
Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
An ABC original motion picture event.
This is my history today. I am king of the world.
Terrence Howard and the Practice's Steve Harris star in Muhammad Ali, King of the World. Monday, January 10th on ABC.
What's the value of a dollar? Every region has a financial foundation on which careers and aspirations are built. Since 1855, Dollar Bank has invested billions of dollars in millions of lives and thousands of businesses in Western Pennsylvania. And by remaining independent, we'll continue for many lives and businesses to come. That's the value of a dollar.
This is a fruitcake. You could spend the next few days enjoying holiday treats like this, or you could come to the Gotta Get a Kia year-end sales event and get a 2000 Sportage starting at $13,795 after $1,000 cash back. It's your choice. Either get $1,000 cash back during the Gotta Get a Kia year-end sales event, or enjoy your fruitcake. Nice save.
There's something different about the salespeople.
I always look for inner beauty.
Wick's new customer first shopping.
It's much more civilized.
They don't follow you around and pester you.
I get enough of that at home.
Wick's Furniture's big New Year's weekend store-wide sale starts tomorrow. Wall-to-wall savings. Plus put no money down with no monthly payments and no finance charges due till April 2001 with the Wick's charge.
Wick's new customer first shopping.
I mean, I still don't get no respect, but at least I'm rocking.
From around the world, a celebration of the millennium. This is ABC 2000. With Peter Jennings at ABC 2000 headquarters in Times Square, Barbara Walters in Paris, Diane Sawyer in New York, Charles Gibson in London, Cokie Roberts in Rome, Elizabeth Vargas in Sydney, Connie Chung in Las Vegas, Deborah Roberts in Orlando, Jack Ford in Times Square, Carol Simpson in Chicago, and Sam Donaldson at the Y2K Command Center in Washington. With our correspondents spanning the globe in Shanghai, Bombay, Bethlehem, Moscow, Havana, Rio de Janeiro, and across the U.S., reports from Miami, New Orleans, Tucson, Los Angeles, San Francisco. And in New York, Dick Clark counting down to the new year in Times Square. Special Millennium performances by Billy Joel, Elton John, Enrique Iglesias, Faith Hill, NSYNC, Fish, The Bee Gees, Aerosmith, Blondie, Bonnie Raitt, Neil Diamond, Harry Connick Jr., Kenny G, Ray Charles, The Eagles, Barry Manilow, David Blaine, and Barbra Streisand. Now, from ABC 2000 headquarters at Times Square in New York, Peter Jennings.
Well, there's no doubt we're going to see a lot of fireworks today. The most spectacular we've seen before at Auckland, New Zealand, and the North Island, where they have just entered the 21st century in the most spectacular fashion. Country located about 1,200 miles to the southeast of Australia, the most physically isolated of the advanced industrialized countries in the world, but totally connected to the rest of the world today by this celebration of the 21st century, and all of the people in Auckland and many of the people in Wellington, the capital, turning out as well. Welcome again to our Millennium coverage as we make our way across the world. Just a couple of news items. A little after 6 o'clock Eastern time. The Russian President Boris Yeltsin surprised everybody this morning by resigning as president. He has chosen as his successor Vladimir Putin, going to be the acting president now. In fact, a Russian news agency reports that Mr. Yeltsin has already handed over the so-called nuclear briefcase to Mr. Putin. Mr. Yeltsin, who's 68, as you know, has been in poor health for this year, and earlier today I think he said something, it was Russia should enter the next century with new faces, though he is going to travel. We said earlier that Mr. Putin would go in his place to Bethlehem in a couple of weeks' time, but in fact Mr. Yeltsin himself is going to go through there. And the good news of this morning, the particularly good news for people who've watched the hostage situation for several days, India has now agreed that it will come to an end, and they will turn over 3 prisoners having to do with Kashmiri independence. We'll talk about Kashmir's independence later in the day, in exchange for those 155 hostages who've had 6 days of horrendous conditions on board the plane, most of them on an airport in southern Afghanistan. And the Indians will give up these 3 prisoners in return for the 55 people who have been on the plane. Now, we've touched our first industrial country of the world, and whether or not you're easy about it or slightly hyped about it or slightly nervous about it, one of the big stories about the beginning of the new century is indeed the Y2K millennium bug. The world has been familiar with it for more than a year, and much of the world, though not all of the world, as you're going to hear, has worked vigorously to make sure it did not disrupt the technology of life with which we are all now so familiar. So let's go first to New Zealand, to Wellington, New Zealand, on the southern part of the North Island, to ABC's Jimmy Walker, who is there just outside the New Zealand Parliament at a place called the National Incident Monitoring Centre, looking to see what, if any, Y2K problems, James, there are at this time of day.
Peter, first I've got to say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. That's right. You're the first among us.
And second, let there be light, and there is light behind us. The electricity, at least here in Wellington, we've had no reports about any problems anywhere else in the country, is A-OK. Now, we were told that the analog cell phone service is overloaded. But that happens, as we all know, on Mother's Day and on Easter and Christmas, and everybody was asked please not to pick up those phones all at once at 12:01.
They did.
And they did, and right now it's overloaded. I can also show this to you. This is a receipt from the National Bank here in Wellington. This is an ATM receipt for, let me think, it's dated 1100, and the time on it is 3 seconds into the new year. Peter?
Well, Jimmy, you were always one for collecting souvenirs, so I trust you'll bring that home with you. And a Happy New Year to you. But tell it, New Zealand is important to a lot of companies in the United States who are watching you carefully. Why are they watching New Zealand?
There are about, well, there are dozens of companies. There's EDS and United Airlines and FedEx and Merrill Lynch and Citibank. Hewlett-Packard all have offices here. Because they've got offices here, they are tied through common computers to the United States. And of course, they're very concerned that a glitch that could pop up here could translate, because everybody's exchanging data, for instance, back to the United States. Now, by paying close attention here, they could have an 18, 16, 15-hour lead should a problem develop. The big problem with this bug is to isolate it, to identify it, to try and stop it. And as I mentioned to you a little bit earlier, it's really tough because you can test and test and test, and still that bug can be there. For instance, if you test a computer code and you then change the function for some reason, change the performance, you can introduce the bug all over again.
Jimmy, let me ask you this. New Zealand, as I said, has taken this pretty seriously, but there are parts of Asia which are not as Y2K compliant as New Zealand is, one of which is China. Are they really worried in China?
Yes, they are worried in China, and they've got a couple of reasons. One, China started late, Also, there is a problem there involving pirated software. There's a lot of pirated software there and in Russia, and you can't very easily expect Bill Gates or Microsoft to be very happy when they get a letter in the mail saying, will you please send us an upgrade, when they have no receipt for the original one. Let me just add very quickly that in Southeast Asia, Indonesia and the Philippines last year faced a very severe currency crisis, and that diverted their attention from Y2K. So everybody's going to have a real eye on Indonesia and Philippines and Taiwan to see how they fare.
Okay, Jimmy, thanks very much. We'll be coming back to you on several occasions. It's now 8:16 in the evening in Tokyo, 7:16 in Hong Kong, 6:16 in the evening, New Year's Eve evening in Bangkok. And so those problems, which are anticipated throughout Asia, are still somewhere down the line, but we will watch them very carefully as the day goes on. And when we come back, we'll go to Washington and talk to Sam Donaldson, who is at Y2K headquarters in Washington. Everybody in the government who's involved with that is working today as well.
ABC 2000, the celebration of the millennium, live from around the world, will continue in just a moment.
I don't want to run a marathon. I don't want to go skydiving. I don't want to feel like a kid again. Though, not feeling ancient would be nice. All I really want is to be able to climb the stairs and give Michael a bath.
Vioxx is here, a prescription medicine for the most common type of arthritis pain, osteoarthritis. One little pill, taken just once a day, can provide 24-hour relief. In rare cases, serious stomach problems such as bleeding can occur without warning. People with allergic reactions such as asthma to aspirin or other arthritis medicines should not take Vioxx. Tell your doctor if you have liver or kidney problems. For more information, ask your doctor or pharmacist about once daily Vioxx for the relief of osteoarthritis pain. And you may be able to plan your day around your life instead of your pain. Vioxx for everyday victories.
The GMC Convoy 2000 is here. Trucks with capabilities that will change the way you look at the road. Professional-grade pickups, SUVs, and family vans, designed better than they need to be, like the 2000 GMC Sierra Extended Cab with the most powerful standard V8 in its class.
Get up to $1,587 average finance savings with 3.9% APR on select 2000 Sierra models.
GMC. Do one thing, do it well.
It's a freedom, adventure. It puts me at one with natural elements, liberating, allows me to clear my head. One of the few things I can do whereby I actually don't hear music in my head. Brings me closer to God, allows me to bask in the wonder of God. Being at the top of a mountain is one of the most incredibly beautiful experiences I've ever had.
The king.
Should have used Energizer. They keep going and going and going and going.
Next week on Good Morning America, a Y2K reality check. How do we make out? Plus, new year, new resolutions, topping the list, getting fit. We'll show you what works. Plus, supermodel, supermom Cindy Crawford looks back at baby's first year. And kick off 2000 with Britney Spears on Good Morning America next week.
ABC 2000 continues live from around the world. Once again, Peter Jennings.
Well, we talked to you a minute about, we're talking about Y2K problems. We left. It's only 12 o'clock in the afternoon at Vatican City. It's a little after 1:30 in Bethlehem. And, oh, it is not very nice in Paris, where the time is about 20 minutes after 12. There's the Eiffel Tower with the countdown on the Eiffel Tower. They have a spectacular evening planned for today, but they have been really hammered by weather in the last couple of days. So in the immediate sense, their last concern is the Y2K problems. And we saw Sydney, Australia as well, too. They've had a few scuffles there, which we'll get to. And just one piece of news I just read on Dawn, one of the Pakistani papers, which says that, in fact, the militant prisoners are on their way or have already left from India to go to Afghanistan to be concerned, to be exchanged with the passengers on board there. Now, very briefly, I want to introduce Sam Donaldson, who's at our Y2 headquarters in Washington. Sam, just give us a quick uptake in about 15 seconds, if you would, for a moment, what you're going to tell us when you come back.
Well, Peter, the information comes here to the YK2 information gathering headquarters in Washington. Government and business people are here to monitor it from around the world. They're looking at countries that say we're not ready. Russia, for instance, 70% of their defense computers are not ready. Not very settling. And, of course, countries that say they are ready are keeping their fingers crossed.
Thank you, Sam. We'll be back to you very shortly after our local news in many cities. Stay tuned with ABC.
We meet again, Mr. Winter. But this time, you'll find the tables have turned. The Volvo Cross Country, with a high-strength steel safety cage and the traction of Volvo's all-wheel drive. More humble pie, Mr. Winter?
The critics are calling Snow Falling on Cedars haunting and beautifully crafted.
You have a gentle heart, a good heart.
A visual masterpiece and a heartbreaking love story.
I want you to marry me. Please say yes.
It transports us to a magical world.
It takes a rare thing to free oneself from the chambers of the human heart.
Snow Falling on Cedars, rated PG-13. Now playing in select cities nationwide January 7th.
Are we going someplace new?
The future represents a golden opportunity for us, our customers, and our region. We're headed in the right direction. We're the Port Authority, and together with you, we're moving forward.
Can we come with you?
Save in every department at Circuit City's New Year's sale. Pay no interest till January 2001 on all purchases $2.99 and up. Don't miss the savings at Circuit City's New Year's sale.
Celebrate the new millennium with half-off savings from Value City Furniture. Saturday only, save half on a luxurious three-piece all-leather living room, just $1,199. Save half on this elegant queen-size bed with metal accents, just $399. Pay our lowest price ever on this elegant metal canopy bed, just $49. Plus, take 75% off selected accessories and get 90 days same as cash. The half-off New Year's Day sale at Value City Furniture. You just can't do any better.
It's the Millennium Sale right now at Lazarus. 50% savings throughout our store, plus bonus coupons. Stores open tonight until 7 p.m. at Lazarus.
Get your best deal of the year on every 2000 model now at Farrell.
Gotta get it.
Zero security deposit, zero first payment, zero down payment on any lease.
Gotta get it.
Save big now on over 1,500 cars and trucks. Keep your money for the holidays during Farrell's Zip Zero Zilch sales event.
Gotta get it, gotta get it.
Only at the Farrell family of dealerships on Route 19, Wexford and Cranberry, where you're always treated like a star.
Gotta get it.
Now,
when winter weather turns severe, turn to Action News This Morning, every morning.
And a good Friday morning to all of you at home. It's 6:25. I'm Wendy Bell. Local headlines coming up in a moment, but first your New Year's Eve forecast with Mike Stone. Mike.
Thanks, Wendy. Good morning, everybody. Temperatures now are in the upper 20s and lower 30s area-wide. We had some sprinkles last evening, but those are gone. Looking ahead to New Year's Eve, dry and not too bad for this time of year. Low to mid-30s tonight, and then for the festivities tomorrow, sunshine fades to partly cloudy skies after sundown, and temperatures falling from 50 down to the 40s. Forecast for today, the day planner anyway, getting up to around 40 degrees after morning clouds. Look for some sunshine today. Then the 5-day forecast, it warms up for the weekend. We bring some showers back in Sunday afternoon into Monday, and then temperatures fall back down to normal levels on Tuesday. That is your weather for now. Ms. Bell.
All right, Mr. Stone, thank you. You know, it's hard to believe New Year's Eve before the new millennium's finally here. Let's go back now live to Christina Arangio, who is in Edgewood, standing by. She's taking a look at the early morning preparations. What's going on there?
Well, there are a few people heading to the grocery store now here at the Giant Eagle, and this is the last day of 1999. It's remarkable when you think that we will see the turn of the century tonight. Time to celebrate, but people are also preparing for any potential Y2K concerns. And I ran into Virginia Lewis and Aaliyah Lewis, and you got here pretty early this morning to the grocery store.
To beat the rush this morning, I knew there were going to be 1 million people at the grocery store.
What are you looking to buy?
Just some essentials, water, and necessary things to get us through in case there's an outage or anything.
Now, you're just being extra cautious, not too concerned, just better safe than sorry?
Right, just better safe than sorry.
Now, can I ask you, your New Year's tonight, quiet one? What do you have planned?
Oh, I'll be at the Covenant Church of Pittsburgh, bringing in a New Year with the Lord.
Oh, that's very nice.
To King Jesus.
Oh, that's wonderful. Happy New Year to you. Thanks for talking to us. I'm sure you'll be able to get everything you want because right now it's not too crowded in there. Later on, though, we're not so sure if that's going to be the case. We expect a lot more people to be heading down here to the Giant Eagle and all over to the grocery stores, and we will have more for you later on. Wendy, back to you.
All right, Christina, thanks so much. Well, if you're headed to town for the festivities tonight or this weekend, you'll no doubt run into some parking problems. Ellen Gamble has a look now at what you can expect.
And if you're headed downtown for New Year's Eve festivities, keep in mind that the Golden Triangle is going to be a very busy place, and some of the restrictions and closures actually start for you this morning. We want to give you the reminders about where you'll find closures. The Clementi Bridge shuts down at 9 this morning. Liberty at Market will get a closure and a restriction at 3 this afternoon. The 7th Street Bridge closes at 11 tonight, and the Smithfield Street Bridge will close at around 10 till midnight. Some reminders about areas where you will not be able to park because of New Year's Eve festivities after 11 this morning. Keep in mind there are parking restrictions in the Market Square area. Forbes, 4th, 5th, 6th, Oliver, and William Penn have parking restrictions, as does Federal from Isabella to the Clementi Bridge. Pittsburgh Parking Authority says it has about 5,000 spaces available to you for parking for tonight's festivities at 9 of its area lots. Good news is if you have those first night Pittsburgh buttons, you can park in those lots for just $1. I'm Ellen Gamble with your Traffic Watch 4 update.
In other news, one woman is dead this morning after a wild situation in East Liberty overnight. Police say somebody fired a gun outside the East Mall apartments. Now, no one was wounded, but police think the blast startled one woman, causing her to suffer a fatal heart attack. And police have detained one man. No word yet if charges have been filed. And we'll have more local news coming your way in just 20 minutes. I'm Wendy Bell. Have a great day.
Friday and New Year's Day, play Register Roulette at Boscov. Save 5 to 50% on almost everything you buy, plus double Register Roulette savings Friday afternoon and Saturday morning. Take 30 to 50% off all ladies' winter outerwear, plus Register Roulette savings. Arrow and Van Heusen dress shirts, 2 for $40. Cannon comforters, $9.99. Flannel sheet sets, $19.99. Double savings Friday afternoon and Saturday morning at Boscov's.
Celebrate the new millennium with half-off savings from Value City Furniture. Saturday only, save half on a luxurious 3-piece all-leather living room, just $1,199. Save half on this elegant queen-sized bed with metal accents, just $399. Pay our lowest price ever on this elegant metal canopy bed, just $49. Plus, take 75% off selected accessories and get 90 days same as cash. The half-off New Year's Day sale at Value City Furniture. You just can't do any better.
ABC 2000 continues live from around the world. Once again from Times Square in New York, Peter Jennings.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We're going to sit here for a few minutes and we're going to watch the Pacific because the 21st century has already arrived in parts of the Pacific. So let's go first to Perth in Australia, where they are playing down the sun. famous lifeguards of every age on an Australian beach. Perth in Western Australia, one of the 5 time zones in that country. The West Australian Symphony Orchestra. And now to Sydney, Australia. It's a great modern city in New South Wales, where Elizabeth Vargas is sitting with us watching these extraordinary dancers on the outside walls of the Sydney Opera House.
Peter, it is extraordinary. We have 6 dancers on top of the Opera House, in addition to a violinist on the very top. And just to give you a little perspective, the sails, the very top of those sails of the Opera House are 220 feet high. This is not for the faint of heart. I'm having a little vertigo just looking up at these guys. They are, of course, harnessed in, but this is quite an event. And in the distance, I don't know if you can see this, Peter, from your perspective. Oh, we just lost the shot, but we also have in the harbor over my shoulder, just behind the Opera House, a parade of marine sails. You can see it right there in the corner of your screen. Each one signifies different creatures from Sydney's harbor, like a sea dragon, a bottlenose dolphin, bannerfish, and seahorses. So it's quite a colorful celebration already underway.
All of it happening in one of the most important ports in the South Pacific, Sydney, the capital of New South Wales, the largest city in Australia. Let's listen.
It is indeed. Although, Peter, we should tell you that already it's not midnight yet, but we've already had a little bit of the celebration has been marred slightly by some scuffles that have erupted in the crowd. We have a record crowd of more than 1 million people have been gathered here, many of them since last night. And there was a bit of controversy because they have divided the harbor off using barricades. Announced they would do that a few days ago. That was a bit controversial, and sure enough, some folks a while ago began to push and storm through some of those barricades. Police came in and made some arrests. We don't think there have been any injuries of any sort, but there were some scuffles, and police did have to take some action.
Well, this is quite an extraordinary city. It was not always thus. Australia, a penal colony for the first Western settlers. And here the great Sydney Harbour Bridge, which people climb on weekends, rather like rock climbers in other parts of the world.
They do. It's one of the only bridges, Peter, where they can do that. The nickname for the bridge is the coat hanger, incidentally, because there's so much steel involved in it. It is, in fact, made of 53,000 tons of steel. It takes, get this, 10 years and 8,000 gallons to repaint it. Right there you're seeing right now some of those marine floats that we're talking to you about. They're each one 3 stories high. There are 18 of them in total, and they're each sailing from Darling Harbour past Sydney Harbour right now. And Peter, you were mentioning a moment ago about the fact that Sydney and Australia started as a colony of convicts, British convicts, and Australia is really looking forward to celebrating this new millennium because they feel they're really taking their place on the world stage and overcoming what has been known as something as called a cultural cringe in the last few decades. A lot of Australians felt a little embarrassed in years past about the fact that they were founded as a penal colony, and they're now looking forward to taking their rightful place on the world stage.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. The harbour in Sydney, Australia. Our coverage will continue in just a moment.
Sooner or later, you're going to quit smoking. So consider this. A quit date this good won't come along for another 1,000 years. Don't waste it. Quit with Nicoderm CQ. CQ's got the 3 gradual steps, and hundreds of thousands of smokers have already quit with it. Wasn't 1 millennium smoking enough? Start the next one with Nicoderm CQ. The power to calm, the power to comfort, the power to help you quit.
What do you have, folks?
A large pepperoni pizza.
And a Pepsi, please.
Sure thing, Curly.
Thank you.
Hey, we both know I ordered a Pepsi Cola, and now you've insulted me by offering me this. I'd like to give you a chance to make amends. Capiche? Yeah.
Here you go.
Good eye.
Contemptible, self-serving buffoon. Hello? Yeah. I got your report. Thanks so much. Mr. Platten.
Hey, he's on vacation.
More and more kids are getting it together. Programs are working to keep kids away from crime, but they need your support. Call 1-800-WE-PREVENT and help McGruff take a bite out of crime.
ESPN Classic presents a special New Year's Day showing of ESPN Sports Century's 50 greatest athletes. If you missed any of the 50 greatest athlete profiles, here's your chance to see the countdown presented in its entirety. An all-day, round-the-clock marathon that no sports fan should miss. Watch ESPN Sports Century's...
For live breaking news coverage and first-hand rush hour traffic reports, Sky 4, all morning, all afternoon. Only on Channel 4 Action News everywhere.
30 contenders, 3 continents, 1 winner. The new Lincoln LS. Motor Trend Car of the Year. Motor Trend said, if you're considering a BMW, Mercedes, Audi, or Lexus, put the Lincoln LS on your test drive list.
Allegheny Energy Supply, Millennium, Pittsburgh. The largest, longest fireworks extravaganza. Saturday, January 1st, 2000.
Kaufman's 24-hour sale today and tomorrow. Save up to an extra 40% on winter fashion clearance.
This is where it all starts. This is where it gets good.
For 20 hours this holiday weekend, Colonial Gallery will sell furniture of heirloom quality at prices that defy comparison. The Millennium Celebration will begin Saturday at noon with incredible savings of 1/2 on room settings by Pennsylvania House, Hardin, Hickory Chair, Action Lane on all 4 Colonial Gallery store levels. It continues with no payments for a full year or sales tax paid for cash, and it ends when the doors close on Monday night at 9. Colonial Gallery, Route 51 South, Baldwin, Whitehall.
Getting a new car is a kick, but there are questions. Should I get this option? Can I afford that option? Will I hate myself for not getting this option? Do I even have an option? Introducing the Civic Value Package Sedan, complete with a keyless entry system, air conditioning, automatic transmission, a CD player, and more. Isn't life wonderful when the options aren't extra?
Two Guys and a Girl, Wednesdays at 8/7 Central on ABC.
Come on, and stop.
Live from around the world, ABC 2000. Once again, Peter Jennings.
It's a wonderful dramatic shot of New York Harbor, the Statue of Liberty, at just 20 minutes to 7 Eastern Time. But it's a little bit of a reminder of Australia, too, where we've just gone across 5 time zones in a couple of minutes because, as Elizabeth Vargas was saying, Australia was originally a penal colony. It had a very deeply embedded indigenous colony which suffered for many years under the whites, the Aborigines. But in the last 10 years, maybe the last 20 years, has become much more conscious that it's had to be a part of Asia, and so has become a much more open society in many ways to other cultures from around the world. But now, having gone across those 5 time zones in Australia, in Sydney, Australia, where they're 11 hours away from New Zealand, 11 hours away from England, Greenwich, just south of London, as Charlie was telling us earlier, is ground zero for time on zero meridian. Let's go there now to hear the wonderful singer Annie Lennox with the Eurythmics, among other things, singing that great hymn, Jerusalem.
take away your pain. When the miracle of love comes your way again. Cruel is the night that covers up your fears. Tender is the one that wipes away your tears. There must be a bitter breeze to make you sting so viciously. They say the greatest coward can hurt the most ferociously. But I'll show you something good. Oh, I'll show you something good. When you open your heart, you can make a new start. When your crumbling world falls apart. The miracle of love.
Annie Lennox not singing quite the song that the International Consortium has told us she was going to sing, but singing nonetheless in Greenwich. And we will hear her later on, I hope, singing the song, singing the hymn Jerusalem. We'll be right back after this break for your local stations.
It's a freedom, adventure. It puts me at one with natural elements, liberating, allows me to clear my head. One of the few things I can do whereby I actually don't hear music in my head. Brings me closer to God, allows me to bask in the wonder of God. Being at the top of a mountain is one of the most incredibly beautiful experiences I've ever had.
This is my invention. The silverware instrument. C'est les lunettes éclairantes. You could slide them, but they don't slide by themselves. It worked. It worked. Headlight. It could change somebody's life. 24-hour sentence. That is the greatest idea I've ever came up in my whole life.
Will extra amenities in your life lead to greater happiness? Are 64 crayons in a box better than 8? Is there such a thing as too many cable channels? Introducing the all-new, redesigned Avalon, the most luxurious, most refined sedan we've ever created.
Hey, Annie Matthews, what's on your plate today?
Today's gonna be great, but really busy. 10, maybe 15 cuts.
Lunch is here, Annie.
I'll probably grab a quick bite when I can.
Annie, your 2 o'clock's here.
And maybe get heartburn. I used to think Tums if I'd already eaten. Not anymore.
Now you can take Pepsid AC whenever you need it. Pepsid AC controls heartburn before, during, or even after you eat.
Of course I can take you.
No matter what's on your plate, today should be heartburn-free with Pepsid AC. On the second Sunday.
Final answer?
Of the new century.
I'm going home with the quarter mil.
The phenomenon.
Good Friday morning to all of you. At 6:45, I'm Wendy Bell. We're going to check the local headlines in just a moment, but first, Mike Stone has a look at your New Year's Eve forecast. Now, it looks good, Mike.
Yeah, it does, Wendy. Good morning, everyone. Temperatures are still under that mild trend right now. Temperatures close to, if not above, freezing. Here's your DiNardo weather watch for today. Generally some early clouds, but then becoming partly cloudy, and highs today pretty much in the same category they were yesterday, 40 degrees or a little bit warmer in some spots. As we go into tonight, just a few clouds, pretty good for New Year's Eve. Temperatures in the lower 30s. And then as we go into tomorrow, New Year's Day, a mixture of clouds and sun, breezy and warmer, and highs busting 50 in main locations. Here's the 5-day rain comes back in Sunday afternoon. It lasts into early Monday, and then we cool down towards the middle of next week. But still in the 50s for Sunday before we go down in the 40s on Monday. Wendy.
Almost balmy. Thank you. You know, it's almost hard to believe New Year's Eve before the new millennium's finally here. Our Christina Arangio is live in Edgewood with a look at all the early morning preparations. You doing a little shopping there, Christina?
No, actually, I did it ahead of time. I was prepared, Wendy, but a lot of people are getting it done today. There's still a lot of time before New Year's Eve tonight, and people are here at the Giant Eagle starting to make their way inside. It opened about 45 minutes ago. We wanted to show you some video from the celebration last year in Pittsburgh. This is in Market Square. there. Face painting going on. Part of the first night celebration. Of course, there are going to be a number of activities going on tonight and tomorrow in Pittsburgh. It should be very exciting, but as we said, it's also a time for people to think about those Y2K concerns that we've all heard so much about by now. Potential computer glitches, so people have been stocking up on groceries, and I saw a few people heading to the ATM earlier at the bank, and we'll have a lot more for you later on. Reporting live downtown, I'm Christina Arangio. Actually, we're in Edgewood. Forgive me. Wendy, back to you.
Thanks, Christina. Well, if you're headed to town for the festivities tonight or this weekend, parking probably will be a problem downtown. So Ellen Gamble has a look at what you can expect.
Going to be very busy downtown in Pittsburgh's Golden Triangle tonight as everyone welcomes in the new year. Of course, all of those festivities mean there will be some restrictions and some closures for you. We'd like to give you the reminders from the Traffic Watch 4 Center. A mini Merrymakers March begins at 6 tonight, forming near USX, and a rolling closure on the following roadways follows that particular parade: Grant, 6th, Wood, 5th, Market, and Liberty down to CNG Plaza. Keep in mind you will have restrictions around that area. Also some closures starting at 8 tonight in preparation for the fireworks to usher in the new year. Commonwealth at Liberty, Commonwealth at Fort Duquesne, the rear of Point State Park, and Point State Park's walkway to the stadium. The Port Authority will be helping you all to get downtown to enjoy these festivities. If you have questions about restrictions or rerouting, call Pat at 442-2000, or you can log on to their website at www.ridegold.com. They plan to have lots of extra service ready for tonight's festivities. They do say, however, the best way to get in and out of downtown is to use the T, especially if you're coming from the South Hills. I'm Ellen Gamble with your Traffic Watch 4 update.
Well, some new developments in the disappearance of Ira Swearingen. Police are now looking for another man they say used Swearingen's credit card at the Walmart in West Mifflin. This is the man, John Sebastian Shaker of Las Vegas. I'm not sure if we have a picture of him. Shaker is known as an associate, of the two men already in custody for using Swearingen's ATM card. Swearingen disappeared December 12th en route to Uniontown from Pittsburgh International Airport. His burned-out rental car was found in Greene County. He's not been seen since then. And more local news is coming your way in another 30 minutes. I'm Wendy Bell. Have a great morning.
This is Arts Pittsburgh, and I'm Michelle Wright. The Bach Choir has been entertaining audiences in Pittsburgh since 1934. During a recent rehearsal, artistic director Brady Aldred explained the Bach Choir performs music from all different periods and styles.
We presented concerts of Latin American music. We premiered new works that have been written for the choir. We have recorded new works. The holiday time, we do music with brass and organ, with harp.
The choir is comprised of 120 singers from ages 17 to 70.
Bach Choir is not only a group of disciplined musicians, but there's something very special about this group of people. There's a spiritual underpinning to the discipline and the gifts that we all have. And for me, that makes Bach Choir very special.
For more information on this performance and others, visit us on the web at artspittsburgh.com.
Sky 4, only on Channel 4 Action News everywhere.
Live from around the world, a celebration of the millennium. This is ABC 2000. With Peter Jennings at ABC 2000 headquarters in Times Square, Barbara Walters in Paris, Diane Sawyer in New York, Charles Gibson in London, Cokie Roberts in Rome, Elizabeth Vargas in Sydney, Connie Chung in Las Vegas, Deborah Roberts in Orlando, Jack Ford in Times Square, Carol Simpson in Chicago, and Sam Donaldson at the Y2K Command Center in Washington. With our correspondents spanning the globe in Shanghai, Bombay, Bethlehem, Moscow, Havana, Rio de Janeiro, and across the U.S., reports from Miami, New Orleans, Tucson, Los Angeles, San Francisco. And in New York, Dick Clark counting down to the new year in Times Square. Special Millennium performances by Billy Joel, Elton John, Enrique Iglesias, Faith Hill, In Sync, Fish, the Bee Gees, Aerosmith, Blondie, Bonnie Raitt, Neil Diamond, Harry Connick Jr., Kenny G, Ray Charles, the Eagles, Barry Manilow, David Blaine, and Barbra Streisand. Now, from ABC 2000 headquarters at Times Square in New York, Peter Jennings.
Did we forget to mention Annie Lennox, who has just been singing at the Greenwich Observatory just southeast in London, the home of time. We'll go back there many times throughout the day. There's some terrific things planned all around the world. New Zealand has reported in with the first baby boy of the 21st century. And in case you were just getting up, one of the sensible ones, though, would have been really fun to be here at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. Let us show you in a thumbnail way what we've already been doing in the Pacific. The first great celebration today was on the islands of Kiribati in the South Pacific. Used to be called the Gilbert Islands, but in Kiribati they came to the beaches where Americans had once given their lives in the defense of freedom to welcome in the 21st century. And they did the same thing in Tonga, sometime called the Friendly Islands, the most Christian nation on earth, with the Hallelujah Chorus. And they had a ball in New Zealand. In Auckland and in Wellington as well, whether it was laser beams or church bells, they have welcomed the 21st century there with tremendous enthusiasm. This country of 3.5 million people, the first industrialized nation in the world to celebrate the beginning of the 21st century. We've checked in there with Jimmy Walker to see if there are any Y2K problems. There do not appear to be any so far, but bear in mind it will take days and weeks and in some cases months to see whether or not there are Y2K millennium bug problems somewhere in the system. We are here, of course, in Times Square, where we shall be for the next very long time. Out there in the square is Jack Ford, because they're just about to put up the ball, which will drop at midnight Times Square. And Jack Ford, that is part of your territory.
Peter, you mentioned that they're about to put the ball up to get it up there before it comes down again a minute before midnight. It's a little bit loud out here now. You can probably hear this if you look out your window over there. You can see where we are on this platform. The ceremonies, the events, the performances, if you would, have just begun at about 6:30 Eastern Time. What we're hearing now, and what is making it difficult in terms of our sound, is a virtual orchestra that's going to be performing throughout the course of the day. All of this is done by computers, not surprising in this technological age, especially as we celebrate the passage of the millennium. And the computer orchestra that we're hearing right now is playing what's called Fanfare for the Common Man, something that was put together specifically for the celebration of the passage of the millennium. But as you said, Peter, in just a little while, they're going to hoist that Waterford crystal ball up to the top of the 77-foot shaft. It'll be up there until 1 minute before midnight tonight when it comes down. A little bit later, we're going to have an opportunity to talk with the gentleman who was the master designer from Waterford Crystal. They were the ones involved in this. I can give you a few statistics on this now. However, before we get to that, it weighs about 1,000 pounds, actually 1,070 pounds to be precise. It is 6 feet in diameter. It has on it about 600 light bulbs, 168 of them there in the exterior, 432 are on the interior. And it has 504 Waterford crystal triangles, and these are all cut in what's called the style of the Star of Hope. It was designed specifically for the Millennium Crystal Ball here. I should mention also there are 90 rotating pyramid mirrors that are going to assist in the reflection of the ball. Now, it's all designed to come down mechanically, as we said, work its way down a minute before midnight. If it doesn't work, then it's going to be old-fashioned muscle. We're told that there's a crew standing by ready to lower it on, essentially on chains, if the mechanical device isn't working. So, Peter, in a little while the ball will be up there. The folks are starting to gather downstairs here, and they're looking forward to their first glimpse of that Millennium Crystal Ball.
Jack, let me interrupt you because we're seeing something quite amazing here. This literally is a virtual orchestra being conducted in a virtual way, electronically, with laser beams. Watch the conductor. Forrest Toby of Baltimore's Peabody Institute is using two light-emitting wands which have infrared sensors, and he's pointing them in the direction and speed and with the nuance that he wants them to have. And as they move through space, newly invented software reads the information and triggers a whole range of orchestral sound. And there it goes, this magnificent Waterford crystal ball. They've pulled the switch. They've lighted it up. If you look high above the old New York Times building at the southern end, right at 43rd Street, 42nd Street, and Times Square, this crystal ball, which has been synonymous with this place since 1906, makes its way into an early sky. The highest tech ball they've ever had. An elaborate hardware and software system descending into this square, which is in itself all about electronic hardware now selling products all over the world. It's 12 o'clock noon in London at Big Ben at the Houses of Parliament. There'll be quite a celebration there. We had a brief report that there'd been a power outage in Auckland and in Wellington and New Zealand, but we're glad to hear that they have power back. Quite a far cry from the days in which they dropped an iron ball every day to mark the time. The ball has a tradition. No matter where it occurs, it's put up so people know that it is a certain time. It has its original traditions at sea. The Navy picked it up in the United States as well, and now it becomes synonymous not just in New York's Times Square, but in many other cities around the world where they drop something. Going to be a plum, I believe, in Atlanta. Or no, it's going to be a peach in Atlanta. How could it be anything but a peach in Atlanta? On Peachtree Street. But for now, there you see the ball, which will come down 12 hours from now in New York Times Square. Lots of things to contend with today. From Y2K to crowds to the weather in some places. But one thing that everybody will be thrilled to contend with, and that is tradition. A little later on, we'll talk about this quite extraordinary square where the New York Times first made its home almost a century ago, or a century ago actually, which time a lot of people in the city thought they were mad, and now New Yorkers will tell you that it is the absolute center of the universe. And certainly anybody who comes to this city from anywhere else in the world wants to be, at least for a moment or two, in Times Square. But this is a day for the universe. And so why not, as we begin our day, as we begin the time where Good Morning America normally is seen, Charlie Gibson is in London, Diane Sawyer will be here a little later to help us celebrate this day. But as we begin this day in the traditional broadcast time, why not an overture for the globe? Well, that's our overture to the world. We'll give you a chance to see it a couple of more times today because it's a very beautifully prepared thing, which really does give you a sense of what is happening in all the corners of the globe today. We've begun to celebrate the 21st century in the Pacific. The sun is coming up in Florida. Another horrible day in paradise, as they often say down here, and the ball has gone up in New York's Times Square. And we have a lot of very valuable colleagues waiting at their posts around the world, so we're just going to move around the world a little bit now and see what they have on offer. First to London, ABC's Charlie Gibson. Charlie.
Well, Peter, you saw the bonging of Big Ben, the bells of Big Ben bonging the 12 noon time, and that's the last time, at least with the first digit of 1, that we will hear that. And actually a fair group of people had gathered on Westminster Bridge in order to celebrate that modest occasion, and people are beginning to gather along the banks of the Thames. We're now 12 hours away from the celebration here, when the entire Thames River will be lit on fire, and as I said, the British modestly say they're going to have the biggest fireworks show in the history of the world.
What else is cooking, Charlie?
Well, Peter, one of the things that I think is worthy of mention is the fact that millions of people will be singing Auld Lang Syne when the midnight hour comes. And while that is a very American tradition, it is something that began here, as so many traditions do, in Great Britain.
It feels as if it's always been there. No matter what the year, no matter where the festivities, there is that song. But for the song's origins, you must go to the Green Hills of Western Scotland. That is the home of the poet, Robert Burns, who was the first one to write down the lyrics to an old Scottish folk song more than 200 years ago.
He was gathering old songs, and he knew this song had never been actually written down before, and Burns had got the melody from an old man he heard singing.
He tidied up the words, added some verses of his own, and not content with the song's original melody, he found one more to his liking. Another well-known Scottish tune of the time. Burns' Auld Lang Syne grew in popularity, particularly after his death in 1796, and soon became the traditional Scottish song of parting.
Auld Lang Syne, which literally translated means for old time's sake. And we're going to gather again, meet up for Auld Lang Syne, old time's sake.
As Scots emigrated around the world in the last century, they took the song with them to places like Canada. There it was heard by the man who would make it a part of New Year's Eve.
And now, here is Mr. New Year's Eve himself, Guy Lombardo.
From the stage of the Grill Room at New York's Roosevelt Hotel, Lombardo and his Royal Canadians made Auld Lang Syne a New Year's Eve standard. They played it there for the first time in 1929 and continued for decades afterwards, making it their signature song. A tradition was born.
Happy New Year, everybody. A very happy New Year.
So, Peter, when the ball drops tonight and you have a little glass of the bubbly and you kiss your favorite person, a little thanks to Bobby Burns up in Scotland for bringing us Auld Lang Syne.
Thanks very much, Charlie. Look forward to talking to you many times throughout the day. 39 opportunities there are to celebrate the New Year's. If you like the 39 different time zones in the world, we're going to cross a lot of them. In a minute, we'll go to Barbara Walters. But first, just to tell you some of the news that has been made today. The big surprise when we all got underway this morning was that Boris Yeltsin in Moscow announced that he was going to resign as president and turn over the reins to his acting president, Vladimir Putin. President Clinton has already hailed Mr. Yeltsin's leadership and says that he looks forward to working with Mr. Putin. The so-called nuclear codes have been turned over by Mr. Yeltsin to Mr. Putin, who not very long ago, probably in his wildest dreams, could never have expected he was likely to be the next president of Russia. In Kandahar, in Afghanistan, 5 hijackers have walked off that airplane, which means that siege there is effectively over. They made a deal with the Indian government. 3 Muslim militants, those who had been fighting for the independence of Kashmir, where there's a very large Indian occupying force, were freed from Indian custody, and the hijackers simply walked off, got into a car, and have disappeared. We have no idea where they have gone, and we have no idea as yet of the condition of the people on board the plane. Here in the United States, the FBI does believe that it has evidence now that Ahmed Rassam, the man who was arrested earlier this month as he came across the border from Canada at Washington State, does have connections to a larger plot in the United States. But there have been no definitive indications what they're precisely talking about. Almost everywhere you look in the country today, you get the sense that every police force has been on the job, turned over everybody they know involved with anything bad. And certainly outside this window here in New York Times Square, there's a very large police force in evidence, and everybody is very relaxed. Let us now go to Paris, where ABC's Barbara Walters is sitting just across the Seine from the Eiffel Tower. Barbara.
Indeed we are, Peter, and when we heard Charlie a few moments ago talking about that bubbly you're going to be drinking at midnight, just remember that bubbly, that champagne comes here from France. They've had a very bad few days with very serious storms here, and 83 people in this country who've been killed. But today it is a day of celebration, especially where we are at the Eiffel Tower. For 1,000 days now, they have been announcing the days. Now they are announcing the hours, and eventually 3 minutes before midnight, it will be the minutes and then the seconds. You can see the base of the Eiffel Tower, where there are going to be enormous fireworks going up to 1,000 feet to the top of the Eiffel Tower. There you see it says J for jour, which had been the day. It's 11 hours now until midnight. And the Eiffel Tower at the top of it is still shrouded in fog. It's been quite rainy. Today is the first day that it isn't raining. People are already lined up, Peter, even though it's 11 hours away, and it's supposed to be the most glittering. 20,000 bulbs. It's taken mountain climbers 3 days, or 3 months rather, to put those bulbs on. Now, what you're looking at is one of the Ferris wheels on the Champs-Élysées, where they have 12 Ferris wheels just for today, each one with a different theme, from cows and monkeys to acrobats and an internet. There you see the largest one. That's there each year, but the other 12, or the other 11, this makes it 12, are only made for tonight, and they won't start going until midnight. So it's a festive time here, not jammed, Peter, sort of like New York. A lot of people are staying home. The Prime Minister canceled his vacation to come here because of the storm. And it's a feeling of festivity, but I can't tell you that it's really ecstatic. Streets are filled, but not jammed. And for the first time, the weather seems to be clear.
Well, that's really nice to hear. And later in the day, we want to talk a lot to you, Barbara, because as Barbara knows as well as anybody on this staff, the French have had an enormous amount to offer the world. I'm curious about one thing, Barbara. Are there many Americans in Paris that you've run in today? That's always been a place where Americans have loved to go.
There are Americans. We saw Americans at our hotel. There are a lot of Japanese. There are Germans. But it isn't jammed. The hotels are not totally filled. They're fine, and they're doing okay, but it hasn't been the kind of enormous crowds that some people had expected. The restaurants are filled. There's going to be a big ball at Versailles. For $2,400, you can go to Versailles, where there will be 2,500 people.
Weather
and
notwithstanding?
dine on foie gras. I'm sorry, what did you say?
Weather notwithstanding? Versailles is still open after that terrible storm?
Weather notwithstanding, yeah. They have tents that they've made outside of Versailles. The people will not be allowed to go into the park, as you just said, Peter, because of the storms. They've had 10,000 trees destroyed in the park at Versailles, some of them 300 or 400 years old. But there will be this public dansant, if people want to spend that kind of money. And then there's a private dance as well, given by a very wealthy Greek named Goulandris, and that's by invitation only. So, there is the spectacular, there is the kind of festivity that you expect with gorgeous clothes. People will be wearing costumes and wigs of the 18th century, so it'll be pretty glamorous. And here, the main event is indeed the Eiffel Tower, with the countdown and the fireworks and the 20,000 bulbs and the Ferris wheels and ooh la la, as we say here.
We'll make you work on a lot of other things between now and then, Barbara. Thanks so much. A lot of people here looking quite envious at the thought of being in Paris. I think it must be the parties. At any rate, I don't know if anybody else noticed the bus going by there. That's the Schmetterling bus. That's the German word for butterflies. That terrible joke about which language has the most beautiful words, butterfly, Schmetterling in German. But it's a sort of a reminder today, in Europe particularly, how much that continent is coming together in a variety of ways, and in how many different ways French and English still continue to fight each other, with English around the world, in large measure thanks to the internet, thanks to the technologies which make the kind of television coverage possible today, simply becoming increasingly the language of the 21st century. Want to go to Sam Donaldson, who's at Y2A headquarters in Washington. Sam, first of all, tell us, what are they looking for today in very general terms from there?
Well, Peter, they're looking for power outages, utility outages, transportation problems, and problems in such things as military installations and power plants, nuclear power plants. You mentioned that very small power outage in New Zealand at a water plant that appears to have been caused by high winds. So they're also having to sift through, well, is this something that Y2K caused or something else? You know, we just turned 7 o'clock, and the first commercial nuclear power plant in the world that might be affected by a Y2K problem has come online. There are 430 in the world, and the ones that we're really looking at are the 21 in the former Soviet Union, built by the former Soviet Union. Now, you see up on your right-hand screen, Bilibino. 7 o'clock, Bilibino came into the millennium. We've had no reports of any problems, although there can always be a delay. But the reason, Peter, they're watching this very carefully, you do remember the name Chernobyl. If, for instance, the power should go down, the electric power that keeps that plant going, and they don't have enough electric power to cool the atomic rods, the core, if you will, after some number of hours, radiation could be released. And Nome, Alaska is only 730 miles downwind from Bilibino. I want to stress again, Peter, we've had no reports of any problems. But as the millennium marches along, those 430 power plants, 103 of them are in the United States, will be kept very carefully scrutinized.
Sam, thanks very much. Come back to you many times throughout the day. I want to make a big jump now and go all the way to India, because ABC's Lynn Sherr is out there for the millennium. She's in Bombay, or at least most of us know it as Bombay. The Indians now call it Mumbai, by the great gate of India. And even though this is not by any Christian standards a millennium celebration there, coming into the 21st century without talking about India would be virtually impossible, right, Lynn?
I think that's true, Peter. As you say, Mumbai, the new official name. This is a city that is Wall Street, Hollywood rolled into one. This is teeming with energy. It is pulsing with money. And, of course, this is where they make the movies. This is the most populous city in the nation that has been the fastest growing on our planet. By sheer numbers alone, India is already a superpower. The question is, can they become a world superpower? That's the challenge they see for the new millennium. What you're going to see tonight is a crowd gathering behind me, as you say, at the gateway of India. They're excited about it. No special celebration plan. In fact, it's a little muted because the former president of the country died this week, and so there's no state celebration. But as somebody said to me here, a senior manager of a computer company the other day, he said, you know, for you folks in America, this is your first millennium. He said, we've had a few already here in India.
Country of 1 billion people, as we've just been watching. What's that body of water right behind you?
That's the Arabian Sea, Peter, and even though we're technically facing east here, Bombay is the city that faces to the west. This has always been the city that's been open to the rest of the world. And that's why, to a great extent, Indians are thinking about their place in the world and what happens to them as we enter the next century.
And I want to thank you, Lynn. We'll come back to you before long, I promise. I just want to make one very quick check-in to give people at home a sense of where we are with Shanghai. ABC's Mark Litke is in Shanghai to us, which in many ways, Mark, you're on the Bund, I know, overlooking the river, but in some parts of Shanghai, it looks like Times Square.
I tell you, Peter, it feels like 1.2 billion people have been waiting for you here. You talked about a sense of awe at the beginning of the broadcast. Well, welcome to awe-inspiring Chinese style. This city, this magnificent city, is truly into the spirit of this event, even though this is not a traditional holiday here. But we can talk more about that later when we talk about Chinese New Year.
Good. Thanks, Mark, very much. Nice to see your face and to see the Bund behind you and all those people and the lights on. But we'll continue our coverage with you and everybody else in every part of the world when we come back.
This is ABC 2000, the celebration of the millennium. Brought to you by Johnson & Johnson. Just like you, we care how your kids feel. And by Pepsi, the joy of cola.
When I started writing, winning a Nobel Prize never entered my mind. My first book was a profound commercial failure. But quitting was not an option. I learned persistence in subtle and not so subtle ways from my parents. For years, my mother used her whole paycheck to send me to college. My father convinced me I could do anything, as long as I tried. And he was right. So tell your kids to wake up every morning and do their best. Tell them to make the most of each and every day, and not to worry about tomorrow until tomorrow. My parents gave me a gift nothing could beat. Long before I was a success, my parents made me feel like I could be one.
Just like you, we care about how your kids feel.
Your New Year's kiss. Save up to $12 now on select Polaroid cameras and film. Save now before December 31st.
Should have used Energizer. They keep going and going and going.
Miss Johnson. Miss Johnson, it's time for your massage, Miss Johnson.
Solara. An entirely different kind of Camry. It's for you.
Cellular One, clear across America.
No matter how you look at it.
Hey! You think we're gonna toy with you?
There are some things that should never change.
Oh, for God's sake. Go put an apron on right now.
Why?
Because your buttocks is exposed.
Aren't you glad Blue's back? The season premiere Tuesday, January 11th on ABC. Viewer discretion advised.
We now continue with ABC 2000, coverage of the beginning of the new millennium. And a good morning, everyone. It is 7:25. I'm Wendy Bell. We'll see what's going on locally in the news in just a moment. But first, Mike Stone has a look at your forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Wendy. Things looking pretty nice. Kind of cloudy outside this morning. Some areas got some sprinkles last night, but those have moved out. Just a lot of clouds. And temperatures right around freezing with a little bit of a wind chill. Here is your day planner. As we go throughout the day, clouds will break up. We'll see some sunshine this afternoon. Highs in about the 40 to 45 degree range. And then the 5-day forecast, dry for New Year's Eve, temperatures in the lower 30s. 52 tomorrow with some sunshine. And then some rain Sunday into Monday as it turns colder. And yesterday, right before 10 o'clock, Melanie gave birth to a boy. So now switch the baby pool to Wendy.
I'm still incubating. Thanks so much. Well, 17 hours and counting, the eve of the new millennium is finally here. That means some folks are out and about doing some last-minute shopping already, if you can believe that. Let's check back with Christina Arangio, who's live in Edgewood. Christina, a lot of people out early to beat the crowds.
There are people starting to show up here at Edgewood Town Center. We wanted to show you that the parking lot is filling up here. People are making their way to the stores. Some of them are opening up now. Of course, the Giant Eagle has been open since 6 o'clock this morning. And you can see there are some people who who are making their way to the store, stocking up on non-perishables just in case, people feeling it's better to be safe than sorry. Everyone's hoping, of course, there won't be any Y2K problems, but in case there's any kind of computer glitch, they want to be prepared. And Giant Eagle tells us that they expect a pretty good crowd today. They have had a lot of people coming in the last few days stocking up, and of course, we will keep you posted, and we're going to check in with the local banks too as soon as they open to see if a lot of people are heading over there. Some people are getting some extra cash just in case. Live from Edgewood, I'm Christina Arangio. Back to you, Wendy.
All right, Christina, thanks so much. If a trip downtown is going to be a part of your New Year's festivities, prepare for a pre-Y2K problem. We're talking parking. Here's Ellen Gamble with a look at what you can expect.
And if you're headed downtown for New Year's Eve festivities, keep in mind that the Golden Triangle is going to be a very busy place, and some of the restrictions and closures actually start for you this morning. We want to give you the reminders about where you'll find closures. The Clementi Bridge shuts down at 9 this morning. Liberty at Market will get a closure and a restriction at 3 this afternoon. The 7th Street Bridge closes at 11 tonight, and the Smithfield Street Bridge will close at around 10 till midnight. Some reminders about areas where you will not be able to park because of New Year's Eve festivities after 11 this morning. Keep in mind there are parking restrictions in the Market Square area. Forbes, 4th, 5th, 6th, Oliver, and William Penn have parking restrictions, as does Federal from Isabella to the Clementi Bridge. Pittsburgh Parking Authority says it has about 5,000 spaces available to you for parking for tonight's festivities at 9 of its area lots. Good news is if you have those first night Pittsburgh buttons, you can park in those lots for just $1. I'm Ellen Gamble with your Traffic Watch 4 update.
In other news, one woman is dead this morning after a pretty wild situation in East Liberty overnight. Police say someone fired a gun outside the East Mall apartment. Now, no one was wounded, but police